Traversing through a fantastical realm, I inadvertently activated a system, only to find that each of my disciples possessed astonishingly formidable backgrounds. Chapter 1. The Master of Yunshui Temple. Am I dead? As Changsheng drifted in a haze of consciousness, he felt as though his soul was departing from his corporeal form, finding himself ensconced in a mysterious space. The sensations were ineffable, peculiar in nature. Congratulations, host. You have met your demise. Pardon? Congratulations. Suddenly, a voice resonated within his mind, yet his expression was one of utter bewilderment. How could one be congratulated upon death? Surely, this individual must be gravely unwell. The host is deceased. The system has successfully bound itself. A system? Indeed. It is now selecting the world and identity for your rebirth. Please review. In that moment, Changsheng summoned his formidable will and opened his eyes, only to behold a luminous screen before him. The screen displayed the options presented by the system. 1. A prodigious talent born into a destitute family, possessing extraordinary and unparalleled brilliance. 2. A wasteful genius from a minor clan, destined to soar to the pinnacle of the world following a broken engagement. 3. An unparalleled monster from a prestigious family, albeit with a complex internal situation that could easily lead to demise if one is not cautious. 4. Random selection. But with the assistance of this system, for reasons unbeknownst to him, Changsheng sensed an oddity as two figures appeared in his mind, one wielding strange fire and the other brandishing talismans. System, do the first 3 choices exist without your influence? After careful contemplation, Changsheng deemed it prudent to seek clarity to avert any unforeseen circumstances. Indeed. Very well, I shall select option 4. He hesitated not a moment. For as an avid reader of online literature, he fully comprehended the system's might. Even if assigned a seemingly weak and inept identity, he believed he could rise to prominence through the system's aid. Ding. The random selection for rebirth has been finalized. Please review your identity prior to reincarnation. On the eastern domain of the Xuantian Continent, one of the 7 top powers, the Master of Yunshui Temple, Changsheng, commencing the cycle of reincarnation. As the words faded, Changsheng's consciousness blurred and he fainted. Xuantian Continent, eastern domain, Qingyan sect. Upon awakening once more, Changsheng found himself within Yunshui Temple, albeit in the form of a mere 7-year-old child. Nevertheless, with the system's assistance, the memories of his previous existence had seamlessly integrated. The master at the tender age of 7. After swiftly perusing his memories, Changsheng was left dumbfounded. At 7 years old in his past life, he had been blissfully oblivious, playing in the mud. His master's disappearance had left Yunshui Temple with only him, thus compelling him to assume the role of master. Is it truly so absurd? 7 years old. I must report you for employing child labor. Changsheng felt an overwhelming urge to voice his exasperation. Yet for the time being, he had no choice but to accept this new reality. The system, what abilities do you possess? The host can sign in daily to receive rewards from the system, and at irregular intervals, the system will issue tasks that the host may choose to accept. The system responded meticulously. With my presence, the host need not worry. Is that truly the case? Indeed. Excellent. Let us commence the first sign-in of our lives. Please refrain from making such misleading statements. The system remarked with a hint of sarcasm, yet proceeded to dispense the rewards. Congratulations to the host for successfully signing in for the first time, receiving the turtle breathing technique. Congratulations to the host for receiving a critical reward, the longevity technique. Instantly, the turtle breathing technique was elevated to the longevity technique. The level had risen significantly. The longevity technique? Oh, how I adore you, system. Changsheng's face lit up with joy. This encompassed numerous cultivation methods. Especially after his sudden death in his previous life, he had grown increasingly appreciative of life. And this longevity technique perfectly aligned with his desire for survival. But hold your affection. The longevity technique has been successfully integrated. Upon hearing this, Changsheng disregarded everything else, promptly sitting cross-legged to operate the longevity technique according to the route embedded in his memory. In an instant, a surge of spiritual energy began to flow into his body, circulating within his dantian. Time flew swiftly, and years passed. In the blink of an eye, 13 years had elapsed. The once youthful and inexperienced Changsheng had matured. His facial features were exquisitely proportioned, perfectly balanced, with a pair of peach blossom eyes that added a hint of charm rather than delicacy. And a touch of sunlight graced his brow. His long hair was simply tied back, dressed in a white robe tinged with blue, adorned with cloud and water engravings. He proceeded to sign in. Congratulations to the host for successfully signing in today, rewarded with 10 years of cultivation. More cultivation, is it? Changsheng sighed in resignation. Over these 13 years, he had acquired considerable cultivation, such that he had already reached the early stage of the true self realm. In the Xuantian Continent, realms are classified as the Qi guiding realm, acquired realm, innate realm, foundation establishment realm, spirit sea realm, divine storage realm, dragon transformation realm, divine platform realm, true self realm, Dao seeking realm, sky treading realm, and saint realm. Each observer must possess at least the cultivation of the dragon transformation realm and a certain level of experience. However, this is merely the surface of the realms. During this time, he had thoroughly acquainted himself with the entirety of his memories and the Qingyun sect. Seemingly an ethereal and transcendent sect, the Qingyun sect was, in truth, a rather cunning establishment. Every disciple must cultivate the concealment technique to obscure their true cultivation level. This means that upon encountering any disciple, one would be utterly unaware of their actual realm. It was absurd, yet he found it delightful. Hee, longevity, oh longevity. Suddenly, a robust voice resonated from beneath the Yunshui temple, and a figure began to materialize. Upon closer inspection, the visitor was none other than Xuantian, the sect leader of the Qingyun sect. At the same time, he was also one of those who took great care of him. Upon noticing this, Changsheng immediately rose, clasped his hands in salute, and said, "Changsheng pays his respects to Master Su." "Ah, please, sit down," Xuantian replied with a slight nod, gesturing for him to take a seat repeatedly. "Is there something you wish to discuss, Master Uncle?" After sitting down, Changsheng hurriedly brewed a pot of tea, pouring it as he inquired. "Indeed, there is a matter at hand." Xuantian lifted his teacup, blowing gently on the surface before chuckling. "You see, you are the only one left in Yunshui Temple, which must feel rather lonely. Therefore, after discussing with a few of your fellow masters, we have decided to let you venture out and perhaps find a few disciples, so you won't feel so solitary." Upon hearing this, Changsheng frowned, ready to refuse. For accepting disciples would inevitably create karmic ties, which somewhat contradicted his philosophy of survival. However, before he could voice his rejection, a voice echoed in his mind. "System task has been issued, please check." Task content: recruit a disciple with spiritual level talent. Task deadline: 10 days. Task reward: enlightenment tree. Task failure penalty: none. Talent is categorized into several ranks: yellow, profound, earth, heaven, spiritual, king, and saint. Recruiting a disciple with spiritual level talent was no trivial endeavor. Yet the reward was indeed substantial. This was an unprecedented reward in his 13 years of signing in. The enlightenment tree could be described as a legendary existence. Changsheng displayed a hesitant expression, and after a long pause, finally spoke. "I understand, Master Uncle. Tomorrow, I shall venture out and see if I can recruit a disciple." Instantly, Xuantian beamed with joy, exclaiming, "Excellent. Your agreement is all I require. So I shall not disturb you further. Take care, Master Nephew." Changsheng promptly stood to see him off, and once Xuantian departed, he furrowed his brow and sat down beside the tea table. A disciple with spiritual level talent. This indeed posed a bit of a challenge. Suddenly, a flash of inspiration struck him, and he revealed a mischievous grin. "Please refrain from displaying such a lecherous smile, host." "Lecherous? Do you dare accuse me of defamation?" he retorted, for the term did not suit him at all. Not to mention, given his appearance, in his previous life on Blue Star, he would have easily outshone a multitude of youthful talents. Unmatched. "System, could you assist me in searching for individuals nearby who possess spiritual level talent?" Though looks were superficial, he could not neglect the matter at hand. The system fell momentarily silent, muttering to itself, "What was this? Issuing a task yet needing to assist himself? All right, but this is limited to 1,000 miles around you. That will suffice." Changsheng smiled in satisfaction, pleasantly surprised that he could indeed get assistance. This system truly grows more endearing. The following morning, after tidying up, Changsheng departed from the Qingyun sect, intending to explore the nearest town. "System, commence scanning and alert me upon any discoveries." "Understood, host." One must admit, this system is remarkably efficient. After a moment of reflection, Changsheng traversed the void, journeying through the vast expanse of the world. Remarkably, this marked his inaugural departure from the Qingyun sect. In his youth, coupled with a profound appreciation for life, he scarcely ventured beyond the Yunshui view. Thus, seizing this opportunity, he yearned to behold the scenery and dangers of the outside world. 3 hours elapsed. Throughout his journey, Changsheng marveled at the myriad sights along the way, yet the system yielded no results. However, he arrived at the nearest town outside Qingyun sect, Fengshui City. Warm reminder: scanning results have emerged, identifying one individual. "Please review, host." "Review," he commanded. Instantly, a luminous screen materialized before him. Name: Su Mo. Age: 10. Talent: Superior Saint rank. Physique: Divine body of the abyss, awakening pending. Special ability: Fortuitous destiny. transforms misfortune into good fortune, reincarnated being. Gasp. Upon reading this, Changsheng inhaled sharply, pondering whether this constituted an extraordinary completion of his task. A superior saint rank, not to mention Xuantian sect. Perhaps the entire eastern region boasted but a few. Yet, his curiosity was piqued by the designation of reincarnated being. System, what does it mean to be a reincarnated being? Changsheng inquired with intrigue. As the name suggests, this individual is a soul that has undergone reincarnation. Further details will be accessible once the host takes him as an apprentice. Very well, please lock onto his location. Location secured, the host should depart promptly. As soon as the words left his lips, a series of light points illuminated the path ahead. Whoosh! With a slight movement of his feet, he charged forth like thunder. Within Fengshui City, chaos erupted. Capture that brat. How dare he steal from me? Someone assist. The streets echoed with frantic shouts. A glance revealed 7 or 8 individuals brandishing iron rods, pursuing a ragged young boy. Yet, the boy clutched nothing in his hands, rendering the accusation of theft utterly absurd. Their actions were despicable, treating a mere child in such a manner. Some witnesses, unable to bear the injustice, prepared to intervene, but were swiftly halted by a companion. Do not act rashly, the individual whispered. You are clearly newcomers. This group consists of members from the Zhao family of Fengshui City. They are protected by formidable experts in the Spirit Sea realm, far beyond our capacity to provoke. The Spirit Sea realm. The listener's eyes widened in astonishment. A sheen of cold sweat forming on his brow. Fortunately, he had been restrained. Otherwise, he would have undoubtedly courted disaster. A formidable being of the Spirit Sea realm? In the lofty heights, Changsheng naturally overheard their conversation, his heart swelling with newfound confidence. After all, he was a formidable true self-realm cultivator, capable of effortlessly extinguishing mere Spirit Sea realm adversaries. With this thought in mind, he flicked his finger, unleashing a burst of spiritual energy that shattered the iron rods held by the Zhao family. Who dares? The Zhao family members were taken aback, halting in their tracks, their gazes darting around as one of them coldly proclaimed, "The Zhao family conducts its affairs. We kindly ask you to refrain from meddling." The Zhao family? At this moment, Changsheng stepped forward, his tone calm as he replied, "What if I insist on intervening?" He then positioned himself beside the young boy and gently reassured him. "Do not worry, I am here." Step by step, walking upon the void, the Zhao family members widened their eyes in terror, a wave of dread engulfing their hearts. To traverse the void required at least the strength of the divine concealment realm. Yet the strongest among them, their patriarch, was merely at the Spirit Sea realm. "Haha, esteemed senior, you jest. How could we dare to offend you?" The Zhao members forced a laugh, retreating a few steps in silence. Observing this, Changsheng frowned slightly, raising his hand as beams of light surged into their bodies at an astonishing speed. Too quick for them to comprehend. However, the young boy witnessed it, his eyes shimmering with excitement. "Do you wish to take me as your master?" Changsheng inquired. Smiling gently at the boy, the child blinked in curiosity and asked, "If I become your disciple, will I become as strong as you?" At this, Changsheng chuckled softly, ruffling the boy's hair as he replied, "Perhaps in the future, you may surpass me." "Very well, I shall become your disciple." The young boy promptly knelt down, bowing deeply. "Master, please accept my reverence." Chapter 3, The Enlightenment Tree. All right, rise. Changsheng squinted slightly, a hint of joy illuminating his features at the unexpected ease with which he had acquired his first disciple. "Master," the boy called respectfully. "Come, let us return." Changsheng nodded slightly, raising his hand as a surge of spiritual energy enveloped the boy, allowing them to walk upon the air as they departed from Fengshui City. In that instant, the Zhao family members met a tragic fate, their 7 orifices bleeding profusely as they perished. In the skies, Changsheng moved slowly with the young boy, primarily because the child was still an ordinary person. Should they travel too swiftly, the atmospheric pressure could prove fatal. He did not wish for his first disciple to meet an untimely demise. "Your name is Sumo, is it not?" Changsheng once again raised his hand, casting a protective barrier around the boy to shield him from the turbulent air. In an instant, the young boy's eyes widened in disbelief as he gazed upon him, a flicker of awe illuminating his gaze. "Is this truly my master? To know my name upon our very first encounter. How astonishingly powerful he must be." Sumo's eyes sparkled with admiration as he exclaimed, "Master, you are incredible. I haven't even mentioned my name, yet you already know it." Amused by his expression, Changsheng reached out to ruffle his hair, replying, "Otherwise, how could I possibly be your master?" Suddenly, it seemed he recalled his task. "System, surely this task has been more than fulfilled, has it not?" A moment of silence ensued from the system. "Can it be counted? Surely my own efforts contributed as well." The system sighed in exasperation but ultimately responded truthfully. Congratulations, host, you have completed the task. The enlightenment tree has been dispatched to the system space and can be extracted for planting when needed. Furthermore, congratulations on your inaugural task completion. A special task gift pack awaits you. Would you like to open it? Open it, he commanded. Congratulations, host. You have received the Prison Suppression Divine Classic. 1 billion top-tier spirit stones, an awakening pill, and a pool of celestial essence. The sudden announcement of rewards made Changsheng gasp in astonishment. Has the system undergone a transformation? Why the sudden wealth of rewards? Celestial essence. A single drop can grant mortals a lifespan of 1,000 years. For practitioners, it purifies internal impurities and also extends life by a millennium. Non-fatal injuries can be healed in an instant. Good heavens, is this effect not overly potent? Yet upon reflection, his 13 years had been rather bleak, hadn't they? Thus, is it true that having a disciple brings him fortune? Contemplating this, Changsheng couldn't help but glance at Suimo. What is it, master? Suimo inquired, blinking with curiosity. Nothing, Changsheng replied, shaking his head lightly. Once we return, I shall guide you in your cultivation. Yay, thank you, master. Suimo cheered with delight. 6 hours later, they finally returned to the Qingyun sect. Changsheng has returned. Su Qianan awoke from his seclusion, glancing towards the Yunshui pavilion before retracting his gaze to continue his meditation. The entire Qingyun sect was perpetually enveloped in formations, designed to alert against external attacks. Should anyone intrude, he would be immediately aware. And with each individual possessing an identity token, he could discern the intruder's identity with clarity. Within the Yunshui pavilion, as night deepened, they resolved to postpone any further cultivation discussions until the morrow. Suimo, go find a room to settle in. I will teach you cultivation tomorrow, Changsheng instructed. Nodding towards him, the spacious loft held many vacant rooms for him to choose from. Understood, master, Suimo replied obediently, promptly entering the loft to select a room at random. At that moment, Changsheng suddenly entered, carrying a pile of garments which he placed upon the table. Xiaomo, from now on, wear these clothes. After your bath, rest well, and tomorrow I shall discuss our sect with you. Understood, master, Suimo replied with a nod, selecting 1 or 2 pieces before retreating into the bathroom. Observing this, Changsheng turned and closed the door behind him, making his way outside to the loft, where he sat upon a stool beside a tea table. After preparing a pot of tea for himself, he began to survey his surroundings, pondering where to plant the enlightenment tree, as well as where to position the celestial essence. Oh, he had yet to check how much celestial essence was awarded by the system. Without further ado, he promptly opened the system space to investigate, and to his astonishment, he was greeted by a vast pool of celestial essence. Indeed, a swimming pool-sized expanse. System, have you been robbing? Changsheng could not help but voice his surprise. Please do not wrongfully accuse or slander this system. The system protested, emitting a faint electrical current. That's not necessary, he replied. Sensing the system was on the verge of outrage, Changsheng chuckled awkwardly, then began contemplating where to place the essence. After careful consideration, he resolved to plant the enlightenment tree opposite the tea table. As for the celestial essence, system, can you merge the celestial essence into the river of Yunshui Temple? Yes. Once merged, there will no longer be ordinary water within Yunshui Temple. It shall all transform into celestial essence. Excellent. Then please proceed with the fusion. The enlightenment tree will be positioned in front of the tea table. Changsheng nodded with satisfaction. Is this the correct position, host? A virtual image of the enlightenment tree materialized before him. Yes, place it there. And remember to conceal it if any anomalies arise. Understood, the system replied, and began to position the enlightenment tree and merge the celestial essence. In an instant, Changsheng felt the air within Qingyun Temple shift, with the spiritual energy becoming significantly denser. A subtle resonance of Tao began to permeate the atmosphere, emanating from the enlightenment tree and the celestial essence. Although the placement was complete, he now needed to devise a plausible explanation for the origins of these two entities. Based on his estimation, it was likely that Su Qianan would arrive at Qingyun Temple tomorrow, or at the latest, the day after. Given his strength and insight, Su would undoubtedly recognize the origins of both the enlightenment tree and the celestial essence. A series of inquiries could very well lead to a headache. Yet, as he pondered, he unexpectedly leaned back in his chair and succumbed to slumber. It was not until the following morning, when a ray of sunlight streamed in, that he awoke. Upon opening his eyes, he beheld Suimo standing a short distance away, practicing horse stance and vigorously striking with his fists. From the state of his drenched robes and beads of sweat, it was evident that he had been practicing for at least half an hour. Chapter 4. The Onslaught of the Nine Heavens, Thunder Tribulation. This young man is quite diligent, thought Changsheng, marveling at Sumo's every movement. After a long while, he finally called out, "Sumo master?" Sumo turned abruptly, astonished to see his revered teacher, and hurried over, exclaiming, "Master, you are awake so early?" Upon hearing this, Changsheng tugged at the corners of his mouth, replying, "You are aware of how early it is? I thought you were oblivious. Now come sit." With a wave of his hand, Changsheng brewed a pot of tea, setting out 2 cups. After pouring, he pushed 1 cup towards Sumo. Of course, this tea was not brewed from the leaves of the enlightenment tree. Sumo had yet to embark on his cultivation journey, making the enlightenment tea somewhat extravagant for him. Thus, Changsheng planned to wait until Sumo commenced his training before preparing a pot of enlightenment tea for him. "Thank you, master." Sumo was taken aback, hurriedly rising with both hands cradling the teacup, feeling overwhelmed by the honor. "Enough with the formalities here, sit down quickly," Changsheng said, his brow furrowing slightly, a hint of displeasure crossing his face. He continued, "Today, it is time to impart some important information to you." Upon hearing this, Sumo nodded vigorously, responding, "Yes, yes. Currently, the place we inhabit is the Qingyun sect, one of the 7 premier powers of the eastern region. I am the master of the Yunshui pavilion within the Qingyun sect." Changsheng's expression turned serious as he gazed intently at Sumo, slowly stating, "And you are my first disciple. Do you comprehend?" As soon as he finished speaking, he noticed Sumo shaking his head slightly, appearing somewhat dazed. The influx of information overwhelmed his mind, leaving him momentarily disoriented. After a lengthy pause, Sumo finally nodded, saying, "I understand, master. Good. Now I shall assist you in embarking on your cultivation journey." Changsheng smiled with satisfaction, instructing, "Please sit cross-legged." "All right." Sumo complied, sitting before Changsheng, adopting a proper posture. Then, Changsheng flipped his palm, revealing a pill shimmering with an ethereal hue nestled in his hand. The pill was inscribed with patterns, exuding a unique medicinal aura. This was the physique awakening pill rewarded by the system, perfectly suited for Sumo, who had yet to awaken his Jinyu divine body. Without hesitation, Sumo opened his mouth and swallowed the pill. "Good." Sumo followed his teacher's words without a hint of reluctance, promptly consuming the pill. He held his breath, focusing intently on the changes within his body. As the pill was ingested, Changsheng's expression grew serious. The physique awakening pill, as its name implies, was intended to awaken one's physique, but it inevitably caused a violent surge. Being an ordinary person, Sumo might struggle to endure this. Thus, Changsheng would need to guide him through the process. "Refine." Changsheng raised 2 fingers and pressed them against Sumo's forehead, channeling his spiritual energy into Sumo's body to assist in refining the awakening elixir for his physique. However, he had to exercise utmost caution, constantly safeguarding Sumo's meridians and internal organs to prevent any harm. Initially, he contemplated whether Sumo should first practice for a period before consuming the elixir or awaken his physique before commencing his cultivation. Ultimately, he opted for the latter. For once the physique awakens, it signifies that Sumo would soar to new heights, with his cultivation speed multiplying exponentially. Although there might be some dangers initially, the subsequent benefits would be abundant, as cultivation invariably intertwines with peril. Moreover, Sumo was a reincarnated soul. Changsheng firmly believed he could endure the trials ahead. It was indeed quite taxing. Over time, beads of cold sweat began to form on Changsheng's forehead, yet he continued to refine the awakening elixir, allowing its power to permeate Sumo's being, constantly stimulating his physique. Gradually, Sumo's body began to undergo subtle transformations. After an hour, Changsheng withdrew his hand, wiped the sweat from his brow, and panted lightly. Yet, his gaze remained fixed on Sumo. It was nearly complete. The rest now depended on Sumo himself. He had done all he could. Whether Sumo could transcend this challenge was entirely in his hands. Suddenly, a dark red glow flickered around Sumo, waves of energy radiating from within him. The flow of air around them shifted considerably. In the next moment, a torrent of spiritual energy gathered above his head, forming a vortex. Boom! With a thunderous explosion, a beam of light descended from the vortex, enveloping Sumo. Almost immediately, numerous fissures appeared across his body, blood flowing from the cracks and dripping onto the ground. This is not good. Observing this, Changsheng's pupils contracted, and he swiftly darted to a nearby river filled with celestial spirit liquid. He immediately plunged his hand into the river, flicking his fingers to send a drop of the liquid cascading onto Sumo. In an instant, the visible cracks in Sumo's body began to mend, and his pallor gradually faded. Boom, boom, boom. Just as Changsheng let out a sigh of relief, a deafening roar echoed from the heavens. Looking up, he beheld ominous clouds gathering above the Yunshui temple, gradually forming tribulation clouds. Thunder tribulation. Witnessing this scene, Changsheng was taken aback, shock flashing in his eyes. Awakening one's physique would attract thunder tribulation. This was entirely beyond his knowledge, or rather, something he had never heard of. A gentle reminder. The reason for attracting thunder tribulation was that the Jinyu divine physique is a legendary constitution, possessing the power to suppress the myriad realms. Furthermore, since Sumo was a reincarnated soul, the combination of the two would result in a thunder tribulation of unprecedented magnitude. Suddenly, Changsheng's expression darkened. The nine heavens thunder tribulation was the most fearsome of all tribulations, without exception. If Sumo were to face it, he would surely be at death's door. Humph. Regardless of Sumo's past life, he is my disciple now. Changsheng's countenance was as frosty as the winter sky, his eyes glinting with a sharp chill. Though he valued his life and wished to survive, it did not mean he would turn a blind eye at this moment. As a master, how could he ignore his disciple in peril? Such was the responsibility of a mentor. Moreover, had he not acquired any means after 13 years of signing in? At that moment, the sound of thunder reverberated, lightning flashed across the horizon, and the howling wind swept through like a blade, shattering everything in its path. The entire world suddenly dimmed. The calamity clouds were gathering. The first bolt of tribulation was about to descend. Chapter 5. The Reversal of the Seven Stars. Demons and gods alike perish. Now, let me demonstrate the prowess of the Cloud Water Temple's master. Changsheng fixed his gaze on the thunder tribulation and issued a sharp reprimand. He then raised his index and middle fingers together, with a tremor that coursed through him. An overwhelming surge of spiritual power erupted forth, and the great Tao symbols shone brilliantly upon him. His robes billowed wildly, resonating in the air, as he slowly lifted his fingers. Formation. In an instant, the Cloud Water Temple shuddered slightly, and the spiritual energy surged like a tempest, rampaging within the temple. However, upon closer inspection, one would see that the direction of the spiritual energy was coalescing into a formation. A colossal formation enveloped the entire Cloud Water Temple. Rise. Changsheng gently elevated his fingers, and the formation began to ascend toward the firmament, radiating dazzling light as the rhythm of the Tao permeated the atmosphere. A fierce killing intent saturating the world. This was a sacred-level killing formation he had acquired over 13 years of signing in, known as the Seven Stars Killing Formation. Utilizing the formation as a medium, it drew upon the power of the Big Dipper, subsequently conjuring formidable killing strikes. This was a terrifying formation capable of slaying even saints. He was determined to believe that he could overcome a mere thunder tribulation. If not, he would resort to other means. In the next moment, 7 stars flickered in the dim sky: the Tianshu Star, Tianxian Star, Tianji Star, Tianquan Star, Yuheng Star, Kaiyang Star, and Yaoguang Star. The 7 stars shone brightly. The formation trembled violently, and the 7 stars connected, mirroring their brilliance within the formation. Boom! Suddenly, a tremendous roar echoed through the heavens. A bolt of thunder hurtled downward, aimed directly at Sumo. Witnessing this, Changsheng snorted coldly. With a flick of his fingers, he struck the formation and bellowed. 7 stars unite to execute. Swish, swish, swish. In the next moment, the 7 stars within the formation surged skyward, colliding head-on with the thunder tribulation. Boom, boom, boom. In an instant, a colossal explosion resonated through the cosmos, and billowing smoke spread rapidly. The first thunder calamity dissipated. Yet, the onslaught of the 7 stars was far from over. The so-called 7 stars' relentless assault was not merely a single strike. The remaining stars, Tianxian, Tianji, Tianquan, Yuheng, Kaiyang, and Yaoguang, once again surged toward the thunder calamity. Boom! With a resounding explosion, the calamity clouds dispersed. However, in an instant, the clouds reformed, and the thunder calamity grew increasingly ferocious, descending rapidly towards Sumo. Yet, it was neutralized by Tianji. The relentless nature of it all. Changsheng narrowed his eyes slightly, then swiftly formed seals with his hands, channeling his spiritual energy into his palms, causing the formation to begin reversing. The pattern of the 7 stars was immediately inverted. 7 stars reversed. Gods and demons alike were vanquished. Then, Changsheng stepped forward decisively, the runes of the great path flickering, emanating a chilling murderous intent. With a swift motion of his fingers, the light of the 7 stars coalesced, and a luminous sword materialized from the formation. Flash! He wielded his fingers, and the light sword sliced through the heavens, cleaving the calamity clouds apart, shattering the thunder calamity itself. A powerful tempest surged through the realm, the air currents becoming violently turbulent. Yet, merely moments later, the thunder calamity dissipated, the dark clouds retreated, and the once gloomy heavens regained their clarity. The fierce winds gradually transformed into a gentle breeze. Phew! At last, it is resolved. Changsheng let out a long breath, wiping the cold sweat from his forehead. The 7 stars killing formation was indeed formidable, but it required considerable effort to activate. Soon, his gaze returned to Su Mo, seeing him unharmed. Changsheng smiled and remarked, "This lad, creating such a commotion upon his arrival. Thankfully, he is all right now. The greatest trouble has been dealt with. The remaining issues are mere trifles for Su Mo to resolve on his own." Fortunately, the grand formation of Yunshui Temple concealed everything. Otherwise, his masters would undoubtedly have a multitude of questions. Just thinking about them gave Changsheng a slight headache and trouble. Thus, he opted for a cup of tea instead. Before long, half an hour had passed. Boom. In the next moment, another tremendous sound reverberated through the firmament. Again. Upon hearing this noise, Changsheng spat out his tea and hurriedly looked up at the sky. The once clear sky turned dark once more, as 3,000 strands of purple qi emerged from the east, coiling above Yunshui Temple. Vast as the sea, spiritual energy coalesced within the purple mist, gradually forming a figure that stood tall amidst the heavens and earth. His visage was inscrutable, yet the aura he exuded was terrifyingly potent, pressing down upon the entire realm. Beneath him lay countless blood-red abysses, from which innumerable souls yearned to escape, only to be bound by heavy, extraordinary chains, pulling them back into the crimson depths. Simultaneously, around this figure manifested the myriad worlds and celestial realms. Yet, all were trampled beneath his feet, completely suppressed. All of creation bowed before this imposing figure. He merely moved his finger, and the entire universe seemed to crumble. It was utterly terrifying. He was at least a being stronger than a saint. Changsheng, observing this figure, instinctively retracted his neck and sought refuge behind a stone. Such immense strength, a mere glance could spell his demise. The horrifying spectacle naturally attracted countless onlookers. However, due to the constraints of the system, they could only perceive a vague direction of the phenomenon. In the next moment, the marvel dissipated, transforming into shimmering starlight that descended upon Su Mo. Boom. Su Mo felt a jolt coursing through his body, accompanied by a resounding echo from within, as if all the shackles confining him had been shattered. But that was not the end. Spiritual energy surged into him like a torrential flood, propelling his cultivation to unprecedented heights as if he were soaring through the skies. In an instant, he stepped into the spirit sea realm, establishing an extraordinarily solid foundation. The influx of spiritual energy continued, ultimately elevating his realm to the divine concealment stage. Merely awakening his physique had catapulted him from an ordinary person to a practitioner of the divine concealment stage. Truly, the magnitude of this transformation was astounding. Even Changsheng, equipped with a system, could not help but marvel at the formidable power of the reincarnated being. Master, at that moment, Su Mo opened his eyes, stood up, and solemnly bowed to Changsheng. He was acutely aware of the scene where Changsheng faced the thunder tribulation on his behalf. And indeed, Changsheng was deserving of such respect. Indeed, awakening is a good thing. Changsheng cleared his throat and, adopting a serious demeanor, inquired, "How do you feel now?" Su Mo attuned himself to the flowing spiritual energy within, responding with immense satisfaction. "I feel incredibly comfortable, as if a warm current is coursing through my body." Chapter 6. Master of the Forbidden Zone. However, in the next moment, Su Mo fell silent, his expression turning slightly grim. Noticing this change, Changsheng curiously asked, "What troubles you?" After a brief pause, Su Mo frowned and spoke, "Master, I suddenly feel that my memories are somewhat jumbled. There are events I have not experienced. Yet for some reason, they seem familiar." Upon hearing this, Changsheng's pupils constricted, and he inwardly speculated, could it be the awakening of memories from a past life? System. Check Su Mo's information. Name, Su Mo. Age, 10 years, current age. Talent, high-grade saint, currently sealed. Realm, initial stage of divine concealment, heart of divine concealment. Physique, suppression of the abyssal body. Special ability, fortuitous destiny, transforming misfortune into fortune, reincarnated being. Identity, chief disciple of the Yunshui Temple of the Qingyun sect in the eastern region of this life. Former master of the Forbidden Zone, Changsheng. What on earth? A high-grade talent sealed away? In a past life, he was the master of the Forbidden Zone. What the actual? With just a glance, Changsheng was utterly captivated, rendered speechless. Could it truly be so extraordinary? His very first disciple possessed such remarkable significance? "Master, what is the matter?" Su Mo, noticing his dazed expression, waved his hand before him. "Ah, no, it's nothing." Changsheng quickly shook his head, clearing his thoughts with a couple of feigned coughs. "I am aware of your situation. What exactly is it?" Su Mo inquired, his small face contorted with discomfort and conflict. Observing his distress, Changsheng hesitated, contemplating whether to reveal the truth, but soon resolved to do so. After all, it pertained to Sumo's own existence, and he deserved to be informed. Thus, after a moment of consideration, Changsheng slowly began. I wonder if you have heard of reincarnation. Reincarnation? Sumo blinked, his expression one of bewilderment. Instantly, Changsheng felt a headache coming on and explained. It means to live a second life. You are currently in your second life, and the memories that have surfaced in your mind are the experiences of your past life. Do you understand now? Upon hearing this, Sumo's eyes widened in shock, his mouth agape as if he could fit a country egg inside. Past life? Sumo stammered, pointing to himself, seemingly unable to fathom that he possessed such a profound history. Indeed, but you must remember, the past life is ultimately just that, a past. The person you are now is the true you. Do not let the memories of your previous existence sway you. Changsheng gently nodded. Reaching out to ruffle Sumo's small head, a sigh escaped his lips. He pondered whether accepting such a noteworthy disciple was a blessing or a curse. For now, do not dwell on it. Simply act in accordance with your heart. With that, Changsheng retrieved the Jinyu divine cannon from the system space and placed it in Sumo's hands. This is the technique most suited to you. Cultivate diligently, and you shall come to understand. Sumo, upon hearing this, was momentarily taken aback, casting a silent glance at the scripture in his hands. A flicker of yearning igniting within him. Even his very soul seemed to grow ravenous, as if the Jinyu divine cannon were destined solely for him. Noticing Sumo standing there in a daze, Changsheng chose not to rush him. Instead, he prepared 2 cups of tea, brewed from the leaves of the enlightenment tree. Drink this tea first, then examine the technique, he said, pushing a cup towards Sumo. I understand, Sumo replied, taking a deep breath to suppress his burgeoning desire. He lifted the cup, savoring a sip. In an instant, he felt as though a fog had lifted, his thoughts unimpeded. This, Sumo exclaimed in astonishment, quickly turning to Changsheng. Do not speak. Focus on the technique, Changsheng replied calmly. Sumo promptly finished the tea and settled onto the ground, pouring over the Jinyu divine cannon. Yet, the moment he opened it, the scripture transformed into a radiant light, surging directly into his mind. In his mind, verses permeated the air, and a heavy aura of solemnity gradually enveloped him. With the assistance of the enlightenment tea, he effortlessly grasped the divine scripture of the abyss. It is worth noting that the divine scripture of the abyss is intrinsically linked to the divine body of the abyss. Even without the enlightenment tea, he would have been capable of mastering it. The tea merely expedited his comprehension. Calculating the time, the sect master should be arriving soon. Changsheng feigned a contemplative gesture, quietly sipping his tea, while his gaze was directed towards the path leading to Yunshui Temple. Half an hour later, Xuantian appeared slowly at the end of the path, and in the blink of an eye, he materialized within Yunshui Temple. Longsheng pays his respects to his esteemed uncle. In the next moment, Changsheng promptly rose to greet him, clasping his hands and bowing deeply. Xuantian nodded, intending to speak, but caught sight of Sumo not far away, prompting him to inquire, "Is this your disciple?" "Indeed, I took him in at Fengshui City. I happened to witness him being pursued and intervened to rescue him," Changsheng replied with a cheerful demeanor. "That's good. This way, you won't feel lonely at Yunshui Temple." Xuantian chuckled. "Uncle, please take a seat." Changsheng gestured for him to sit, then personally plucked 2 leaves from the enlightenment tree and placed them into the teapot, brewing a pot of tea. Fortunately, Xuantian was preoccupied with observing Sumo and did not notice his actions. Even if he had, Changsheng was well prepared with an explanation. "Uncle, please enjoy the tea." He set the teacup before Xuantian, accompanied by another inviting gesture. "Very well." Xuantian nodded slightly, lifting the teacup. Even before taking a sip, he sensed a profound essence within the tea. This surprised him, yet he did not dwell on it. However, once he tasted it, he was utterly astonished. The rich essence blossomed within his mouth, coursing through his body, and he experienced an exhilarating clarity. In that moment, he immediately recognized that this tea was extraordinary. The ability to enlighten the mind, impressive indeed. Just as he finished his thought, he became aware of the source of the anomaly, the tea, and its capability for enlightenment. Wait, could this possibly be the fabled enlightenment tea? With curiosity gleaming in his eyes, he turned to Changsheng. "As you surmised, uncle, this is indeed the legendary enlightenment tea." As soon as the words fell, Changsheng made a gesture, and a storage ring appeared on the table. "Uncle, within this ring are enlightenment leaves. Please allocate them for the sect, as they will further bolster its strength." Upon hearing this, Xuantian's expression shifted slightly, but being the leader of a sect, he quickly composed himself, nodding repeatedly. "Very well, I understand." Chapter 7. Another reincarnation and recultivation? He naturally did not inquire about how Changsheng came to possess the enlightenment leaves, nor did he ask how many more Changsheng had, for everyone harbors their own secrets. Moreover, Changsheng had been raised under his watchful eye. Thus, he was well aware of the intricacies involved. Since Gu had chosen not to speak, it would be futile to press further. It was wiser to conserve one's words. Gu, my dear, I never anticipated that you would contribute so significantly to the sect. Xuantian gently patted his shoulder, a look of gratification gracing his features. The Wu Dao Yi, this is indeed a legendary item, and even within the Holy Land, it must be exceedingly rare. Changsheng offered a slight smile, silently sipping his tea. Choosing not to elaborate further, the Qingyun sect had treated him well, and now that he possessed resources, he naturally wished to elevate the sect's standing. Of course, the old sixth sect harbored countless secrets. Even he was oblivious to them. Suddenly, Changsheng seemed to recall something and proceeded to assess Xuantian's cultivation level. Peak of the divine platform realm. However, Changsheng found this hard to believe, and thus he silently commanded, System, check Xuantian's realm. Name, Xuantian. Realm, late true self realm. Identity, sect master of Qingyun sect. At once, Changsheng's eyes widened in shock, his heart racing. As he continued to sip his tea, striving to calm his emotions. Good heavens, he had concealed a significant realm. Such adeptness at hiding. Indeed worthy of being the sect master of the old sixth sect. I came to inform you that in 7 days, the Qingyun sect will hold a grand disciple recruitment ceremony. You may wish to attend and see if there are suitable candidates. Upon hearing this, Changsheng fell into a brief silence, hesitating to respond immediately, for he suspected that the system was likely to present him with a task. Sure enough, scarcely had the words left Xuantian's lips when the system's voice echoed in his mind. Task available, please check, host. Task details, accept a disciple with spiritual talent. Task limit, 1 month. Task reward, longevity body, a disciple recruitment gift pack. Task failure, none. Very well, I understand. Changsheng promptly agreed, affirming his participation in the disciple recruitment ceremony. All right, I shall take my leave then. Safe travels, Master Uncle. After departing from the Yunshui Pavilion, Xuantian suddenly remembered the storage ring. He had not checked the quantity of Wu Dao Yi while Changsheng was present. Now, upon inspection, he was taken aback. Good heavens! There was a mountain of at least 10 meters high. Gasp! Changsheng's generosity truly knew no bounds. Xuantian inhaled sharply, but soon began contemplating how to maximize the utility of the Wu Dao Yi to the ancestral grounds. In the next moment, he resolved that if he wished to swiftly enhance the Qingyun sect's strength, the ancestral grounds were the only viable option. 7 days swiftly elapsed. In the grand hall of the Qingyun sect, a dense throng filled the space, with people even crowding the steps outside. Although the Qingyun sect was one of the old six sects, it was nonetheless among the top 7 formidable forces in the eastern domain. Above in the hall, a row of seats awaited, and all eyes were fervently fixed upon the proceedings. Due to this row of seats, it is the position of the sect master and the 6 esteemed leaders. In the blink of an eye, the sect master and the 6 leaders appeared, taking their rightful places. Who is this individual? So youthful. Is this the crux of the matter? Shouldn't the focus be on why he occupies that seat? Could he possibly be another leader? Unbelievable. The crowd was abuzz with speculation regarding Changsheng's identity, for this was his inaugural appearance before the public eye. The gathering was quite substantial. Casting a glance around, Changsheng felt a rush of astonishment, gaining insight into the esteemed reputation of the Qingyun sect. However, he did not lose sight of the main objective. The reward this time was the longevity physique. Though he already possessed the longevity technique, he would not mind acquiring an additional longevity physique. System, scan for individuals with compatible spiritual talent. Received. While the system conducted its scan, Changsheng surveyed the crowd below, which comprised individuals from various regions. Surely, many were also curious about his identity. At that moment, Xuantian rose and pointed towards Changsheng. Addressing the assembly, he is one of the 6 esteemed leaders of our Qingyun sect, the master of Yunshui Pavilion. What? He? A leader? Goodness. Such a youthful leader? Instantly, the crowd was astounded. Changsheng appeared to be of similar age, if not slightly older. While they were still participating in the disciple recruitment ceremony, he had already attained the status of a leader. The disparity was indeed striking. Now, I declare the disciple recruitment ceremony officially commenced. With Xuantian's proclamation, the elders began their proceedings, presenting a crystal before them. This crystal was specifically designed to test talent. In their hands, they held a ledger that recorded the names of the disciples who had signed up. Zhang Lin, talent, low-grade earth rank, inner sect disciple. Li San, talent, low-grade Xian rank, outer sect disciple. As each name was announced, some individuals rejoiced, dancing with elation, while others departed, dejected and despondent. Although the Qingyun sect was vast, not everyone was deemed suitable. A talent of Xian rank was merely adequate for outer sect disciples, while those with Huang rank talent were relegated to the status of miscellaneous disciples. At that moment, the voice of the system echoed in Gu Changsheng's mind. Scan complete. 3 individuals meet the criteria. View information. Name, Bai Xiaoxiao. Age, 16 years. Talent, high-grade saint rank. Cultivation level, mid-stage foundation establishment. Physique, Ziwei Emperor physique, unawakened. Special ability, Emperor S fortune, Great Path S blessing, reincarnation recultivation. Gu Changsheng. What on earth? Another high-grade saint rank? Moreover, a person blessed with Emperor's fortune, possessing the Ziwei Emperor physique. As if that were not enough, they are even a reincarnated cultivator. My goodness, who are these people? They are even more extraordinary than I, a transmigrator. Gu Changsheng found himself momentarily speechless, feeling an overwhelming sense of fatigue. Soon, however, he managed to compose himself and proceeded to examine the next individual. Name, Xiao Yuan. Age, 18 years. Talent, medium-grade spiritual rank. Realm, initial stage of foundation establishment. Physique, none. Special ability, flute playing. Ah, this one seems acceptable, not entirely absurd. Name, Bai Yu. Age, 18 years. Talent, upper-grade spiritual rank. Realm, mid-stage of foundation establishment. Physique, ice and snow body. Special ability, royal favor. The panels of the 3 individuals were laid out before him. Except for the first, Bai Xiaoxiao, the other 2 appeared reasonable, not excessively outlandish. Chapter 8, this system. I no longer love it. Wait a moment. Dear system, could this upper-grade sacred rank also be sealed? The last upper-grade sacred rank was Su Mo, and he recalled vividly that on the panel, it was indicated as sealed following the talent description. Only after the host accepted him as a disciple could a portion of the information be unlocked. The system responded patiently. Suddenly, Gu Changsheng seemed to grasp the crux of the matter and inquired, "You mentioned a portion?" "Indeed. Then Su Mo's information is merely a fraction?" "Correct. Why didn't you mention this earlier? You did not ask, did you?" Upon receiving this reply, Gu Changsheng nearly choked on his breath, inwardly lamenting, "I retract my statement. You are utterly inadequate. I am no longer enamored with you." Upon accepting a disciple, the host could unlock a portion of their information, with further details becoming accessible as the system mall upgraded. The mall can upgrade? At this moment, Gu Changsheng felt a renewed curiosity. He had never heard the system mention the possibility of an upgrade before. Contemplating this, he couldn't shake the feeling that the system was somewhat irresponsible. System mall upgrade unlock conditions 1-3. Instantly, a text box appeared before him, revealing that he had only completed 1/3 of the task. Could this task involve accepting a disciple? Congratulations, host, you are correct. Indeed, a disciple is truly a blessing. Ever since accepting Su Mo, the system had begun to exhibit a newfound generosity. Changsheng, Changsheng. Suddenly, a voice called out, pulling Gu Changsheng back into the present. Changsheng, what is wrong? Su Qianan leaned closer, waving his hand in front of Gu Changsheng's eyes. Noticing his lack of response, he grew increasingly anxious and began shaking him vigorously. Returning to reality, Gu Changsheng quickly shook his head and replied, "Uncle Master, I'm fine." Hearing this, Su Qianan patted his shoulder and sighed in relief, saying, "That's good. What was happening just now? I called you repeatedly without any response." "Apologies, Uncle Master, I was lost in thought." Gu Changsheng's face flushed with embarrassment as he scratched his head and swiftly shifted the topic. "Master, do you have something to discuss with me?" Su Qian asked. Suddenly reminded of the matter at hand, he turned his gaze to the crowd below and said, "Take a look. Is there a suitable disciple among them?" A suitable disciple? Gu Changsheng feigned hesitation. Observing this, Su Qian immediately patted his chest and assured him, "Rest assured, just mention it, and I will communicate with the other esteemed observers." At this, Gu Changsheng nearly uttered the name Bai Xiaoxiao, but he knew that doing so would lead to complications in explaining their connection, such as how he came to know her and why he would take her as his apprentice. Considering this, Gu Changsheng opted to wait until after Bai Xiaoxiao's assessment, at which point he would formally take her as his disciple. "Not yet then. If you find a suitable apprentice, do remember to inform me." Su Qian nodded, not pressing further, and returned to his seat. However, this did not imply that Gu Changsheng remained idle. Following the system's guidance, he spotted Bai Xiaoxiao. Although only 16, she had already blossomed into a striking young woman, her flowing purple hair captivating the attention of those around her. Her exquisitely beautiful face, though still youthful, bore the promise of stunning beauty, albeit with a hint of innocence. Her figure, while subtly developing, hinted at the potential for a captivating silhouette in time. Her clear eyes sparkled with the brilliance of distant stars, as if they could speak, reflecting an enchanting spirit. Yet at that moment, she was nervously clenching her small hands. her face contorted in anxiety. As the testing list drew closer to her name, her tension escalated. Bai Xiaoxiao, born into the Bai family of Changsheng City, had once enjoyed the adoration of her entire family, destined for a life of privilege. However, this idyllic existence was abruptly shattered. Changsheng City was divided among the Lu, Li, Zhang, and Bai families. Though the Bai family was not weak, the combined pressure from the Lu, Li, and Zhang families had rendered them precarious, nearly leading to their downfall. The cause of the Bai family's decline was straightforward. A descendant of the Lu family had become an inner disciple of the Dongyu Mountain sect. This enabled the three families to leverage the sect's influence to eliminate the Bai family and usurp their assets. In desperation, the head of the Bai family was compelled to disperse the younger generation, scattering them far and wide. If one of them could join a sect comparable to Yu Mountain sect, the fortunes of the Bai family could be reversed. Consequently, Bai Xiaoxiao had to leave her family and fortuitously arrived within the jurisdiction of the Qingyun sect upon hearing that they would be holding a grand recruitment ceremony. Without hesitation, she made her way to Qingyun sect. Success would mean salvation for the Bai family. Failure would necessitate finding another path. I must succeed, Bai Xiaoxiao thought, nervously squeezing her fingers until they turned pale, beads of sweat dotting her forehead, her large eyes filled with determination. Suddenly, a voice reached her ears, rendering her momentarily speechless. Do not be anxious. I am Gu Changsheng, the master of the Yunshui Temple. After the testing, should the opportunity arise, I would like to accept you as my disciple. Please contemplate this carefully. Upon hearing this, Bai Xiaoxiao's eyes widened in astonishment, her mouth agape. To communicate telepathically requires a foundation above the Qi refinement stage, and the strongest member of the Bai family barely reaches the pinnacle of that realm. Most importantly, this is the master of the temple. It is common knowledge that within the Qingyun sect, there exist 6 major temples, each master requiring the strength of the dragon transformation stage. Master of the temple? Bai Xiaoxiao whispered, her voice barely above a murmur. Yes, I am here, Gu Changsheng replied. I see potential in you and wish to take you as my disciple. What do you think? I am willing. Bai Xiaoxiao responded without hesitation, nodding eagerly. Very well, after the testing, regardless of the outcome, I shall seek you out, he declared, severing the telepathic connection while maintaining an air of calm. In truth, he was observing the crowd below, keenly noting their words and actions to gauge the dangers lurking outside. However, his hopes were dashed, for their conversations revolved solely around the disciple recruitment ceremony of the Qingyun sect. Time slipped away gradually, and soon it was Bai Xiaoxiao's turn for the test. Bai Xiaoxiao, the elder called from the list in his hand. Yes. Bai Xiaoxiao took a deep breath and stepped forward, placing her hand upon the talent crystal. Chapter 9. The Retreat of the Temple Masters with Bai Xiaoxiao's emergence. Gu Changsheng immediately straightened his posture. Su Qianan, who had been observing for some time, turned his gaze toward Bai Xiaoxiao, a contemplative expression gracing his face. System. Can you conceal Bai Xiaoxiao as talent to the spirit tier? Gu Changsheng suddenly inquired of the system. This had been his concern. Bai Xiaoxiao's talent was of the upper echelon of the Saint tier. In the entire eastern region, only Su Mo could possibly rival her. Moreover, with the Qingyun sect's disciple recruitment ceremony currently underway, should Bai Xiaoxiao reveal her Saint tier talent, the news would inevitably spread. At that point, the entire eastern region would be abuzz, with factions arriving in droves and various sacred lands surfacing. Do not dismiss this as mere speculation. It is a reality. A talent of the upper Saint tier is enough to drive all sacred lands into a frenzy, even if it means the downfall of the Qingyun sect. Gu Changsheng did not wish for the Qingyun sect to face difficulties, yet he could not bear to let such a prodigious talent as Bai Xiaoxiao slip away. Thus, he could only seek assistance from the system. Affirmative, the system replied, simultaneously adjusting the testing threshold of the talent crystal, all of which transpired unnoticed by those present. The modifications have been completed, and the talent crystal can now assess the upper-grade spirit rank. Upon hearing this, Gu Changsheng smiled with satisfaction and sincerely expressed his gratitude. Thank you, Tonggu. Ah, that is music to my ears, the system replied, equally pleased. With the matter resolved, he no longer felt anxious and began to observe Bai Xiaoxiao earnestly. As Bai Xiaoxiao placed her hand upon the talent crystal, it shimmered with dazzling brilliance. Gradually, the character for spirit materialized within the crystal. The flow of energy within the entire Qingyun sect subtly shifted. A wisp of purple energy surged from the east, entering Bai Xiaoxiao's body. Above the heads of the onlookers, a vast river of stars illuminated the sky, its brilliance incomparable. Yet, unbeknownst to the crowd, among the twinkling stars, one star shone with extraordinary radiance, eclipsing the others. Upon closer inspection, it appeared that the remaining stars were in a posture of submission. This remarkably luminous star was known as the Ziwei Emperor Star. Bai Xiaoxiao, of upper-grade spirit rank, was eligible to be taken under the guidance of the observer. Even the elders were astonished by Xiaoxiao's talent. Not only him, but the other observers and the sect leader were equally surprised. Observing their expressions, Changsheng couldn't help but chuckle inwardly. If they were to discover that Xiaoxiao's talent was actually of the upper grade sacred rank, and yet sealed, their jaws would surely drop in disbelief. However, such a revelation was impractical, given the significant implications it would entail, and it did not align with his or the Qingyun sect's customary style. Gentlemen, I believe this young lady is remarkably compatible with my Mo Yun pavilion, declared Zheng Yi. The pavilion master of Mo Yun, before anyone else could speak, his demeanor earnest as if stating an undeniable fact. Nay, this young lady, with her exquisite beauty, would undoubtedly be best suited for our Baiyun pavilion, countered Lu Qinghan, the master of Baiyun pavilion, shaking his head dismissively. It was well known that Baiyun pavilion consisted entirely of women, a veritable paradise within the Qingyun sect. Yet, alas, no man could ascend. Not even the sect leader Su Qianan without prior notification. What a joke. This talent is destined for my Yundan pavilion, asserted Lin Qishan, the master of Yundan pavilion, stroking his beard with confidence, unwilling to believe that anyone could refuse under the influence of his elixirs. Old Lin, your confidence seems rather exaggerated, remarked Gao Hong, the master of Tianqi pavilion, casting a sidelong glance at him. Are you comparing wealth? What a jest. As the esteemed master of Tianqi pavilion, I fear nothing. Cough, cough. I believe Changsheng would be quite suitable as well, interjected Su Qianan, clearing his throat and stepping forward on behalf of Changsheng. Upon hearing this, the other pavilion masters turned their gazes toward him, falling into silence and ceasing their quarrel. Indeed, the sect leader speaks wisely, nodded Mo Tian, the master of Shanshui pavilion, in agreement. If it's Changsheng, then I will not contend further. Lu Qinghan promptly expressed her concurrence, although she cast a glance at the others. Should they dare to continue their debate, she would not hesitate to demonstrate her prowess. It is a simple truth that within the entire Qingyun sect, she only extends her favor to Su Qian and Changsheng. As for the others, they may as well abandon all hope. Then I shall withdraw as well, Lin Qishan remarked, shrugging his shoulders and leaning back in his seat. Casting not a glance at Bai Xiaoxiao. One by one, the other observers also expressed their intention to withdraw from the competition. It is worth noting that Changsheng had grown up before their very eyes, having lost his master at a young age, which forged a bond of affection between them. Observing their actions, it would be disingenuous for Changsheng to claim he was not moved. Over the years, he had received their care and concern, often receiving inquiries about his well-being and being gifted with numerous pills, spiritual artifacts, and spirit stones, especially Lu Qinghan, who would frequently ask him if he had taken a liking to any disciples at Biyun Temple. Ahem, I digress. How wonderful. Changsheng silently sighed with gratitude in his heart, then rose to deeply bow before the various observers and the sect leader, saying, Thank you, esteemed uncles, for your kind intentions. However, we should consider Bai Xiaoxiao's personal wishes. Their assistance is one matter, but it is essential to maintain a facade of propriety. Very well. Let us inquire. Su Qian discerned his intent and nodded in agreement, then turned to Bai Xiaoxiao, asking, Little girl, under which observer do you wish to take your apprenticeship? Upon hearing this, Bai Xiaoxiao's expression tightened, and she quickly replied, I wish to become a disciple of the observer of Yunshui Temple. Changsheng. Su Qian responded with a satisfied smile, promptly calling out. Understood, Changsheng replied, then turned to Bai Xiaoxiao with a gentle smile, saying, In that case, you shall be the second disciple of my Yunshui Temple. Please come stand beside me. Yes, master. Bai Xiaoxiao nodded repeatedly, hastening to his side. Her entire face flushed with excitement. She had finally joined the Qingyun sect, and had even become a disciple of the observer. The Bai family was saved. Moreover, her master was so handsome. A whirlwind of emotions surged within Bai Xiaoxiao as she stood silently beside him. Noticing her state, Changsheng chose to remain silent as well, allowing her time to process her newfound identity. Once the disciple initiation ceremony concluded, he took Bai Xiaoxiao back to Yunshui Temple. Master, do I have a senior brother or sister? Bai Xiaoxiao inquired curiously, her bright eyes wide with anticipation. You have a senior brother, Changsheng softly replied. Upon returning to Yunshui Temple, they found Su Mo practicing outside the loft, and Changsheng pointed to him, saying, There he is. Chapter 10. Suppressing the Star Domain, the Ziwei Empress. There he is. Bai Xiaoxiao followed Changsheng's gesture and indeed spotted a figure. However, she suddenly froze in place, her large eyes blinking in astonishment, as her long eyelashes trembled slightly, revealing her inner turmoil. She had initially envisioned her elder brother as a figure akin to their esteemed master, graceful, cultured, and undeniably handsome. To her astonishment, Her elder brother turned out to be just a child, even younger than herself. Upon witnessing Bai Xiaoxiao's stunned expression, Changsheng could not help but chuckle. Fully aware of her thoughts, he then spoke, "Do not be misled by his age. His background is quite remarkable, and he is more than qualified to be your elder brother." Startled by his words, Bai Xiaoxiao gasped. If even their master acknowledged his extraordinary lineage, it must indeed be impressive. Nevertheless, her surprise was solely at his age, and she harbored no further thoughts. Without hesitation, she hurried over, clasped her hands in a respectful greeting, and slightly bowed, saying, "I pay my respects to my elder brother." The sudden salutation took Su Mo by surprise, leaving him momentarily flustered as he glanced at Changsheng for guidance. Changsheng offered a gentle smile and approached slowly, ruffling the hair of the two young ones as he introduced, "Su Mo, this is your junior sister, Bai Xiaoxiao. He is your elder brother, Su Mo." With this introduction, the two exchanged brief pleasantries. Changsheng then allowed them to engage in conversation. As the saying goes, a master leads one to the door, but the cultivation relies on the individual. System, please proceed with the task settlement. Congratulations, host, on completing the task. The Changsheng body has been allocated to the system space and can be retrieved when needed. Congratulations, host, on successfully taking on a disciple. You have received a disciple gift package. Would you like to open it? Open. Congratulations, host, on obtaining the Purple Star Emperor's technique, an essence awakening pill, and 10 billion premium spirit stones. As Changsheng listened to the melodious voice in his mind, it was more delightful than any sweet nothings in the world. A suitable technique for Xiaoxiao. With this thought, Changsheng waved his hand and called, "Xiaoxiao, come here." "Coming, master." Bai Xiaoxiao hurriedly approached and stood attentively before him. "Here. This will be your technique moving forward, and you should swallow this pill." Changsheng placed the technique and the pill on the tea table. Seeing this, Bai Xiaoxiao nodded, took the technique, and immediately, it transformed into a stream of starlight that surged into her consciousness, beginning to operate autonomously. "Master, this." "There is no need for alarm," Changsheng reassured her, raising his hand gently. "Swallow the pill. I will assist you in refining it." "Yes." Bai Xiaoxiao nodded, her expression turning serious as she unhesitatingly swallowed the pill and promptly sat down in meditation. Su Mo, witnessing this, felt an uncanny familiarity, reminiscent of his own experience. Subsequently, he quietly stepped aside, wishing not to disturb the master and his junior sister. System, as before, conceal the anomalies. Understood. With the system's acknowledgement, Changsheng placed his fingers on Bai Xiaoxiao's forehead, and a surge of immense spiritual energy flowed into her body. The energy traveled through her meridians to the location of the pill, initiating the refining process. This time, compared to the last, it was considerably more effortless. In merely half an hour, Changsheng withdrew his hand, leaving the remainder to Bai Xiaoxiao. This was only to be expected, given that Bai Xiaoxiao possessed the foundational cultivation level, while Su Mo had initially been an ordinary individual. Naturally, this made the process much smoother. Changsheng silently savored his tea, feeling a wave of contentment. The Longsheng body, once integrated, would surely manifest extraordinary phenomena, while others eagerly awaited such manifestations. He often found himself troubled by them. The fluctuations of these phenomena were too intense, posing significant risks. All he desired was to live a stable and untroubled existence. However, the system had bestowed upon him too many responsibilities. He had no choice but to take on disciples. Time trickled by, and in the blink of an eye, 3 hours had passed. The sky was shrouded in dark clouds, fierce winds howled, and thunder rumbled, altering the very flow of the atmosphere. Amidst the vast starry expanse, a star known as Z-Wave flickered intensely, hinting at an imperial might. Suddenly, a strand of purple light descended from the heavens, piercing through the mist and void, landing steadily upon Bai Xiaoxiao. In an instant, a powerful surge erupted from her, filling the entire Yunshui temple with an overwhelming force. What a formidable presence! Changsheng quickly mobilized the spiritual energy within him to withstand the impact, astonished by the transformation occurring in Bai Xiaoxiao. This is bad. Suddenly, he seemed to recall something, and his expression shifted dramatically as he turned to Su Mo. During this time, Su Mo had awakened his constitution, and with the aid of the Jinyu divine canon, his cultivation had soared rapidly. He was now at the mid-stage of the divine abode realm. Yet, even so, this force was not something a divine abode cultivator could withstand. He did not wish for Su Mo to suffer injuries due to Bai Xiaoxiao's awakening, but merely a glance revealed an odd expression on his face. His eyes filled with profound shock. Su Mo did not require his assistance at all. At that moment, Su Mo appeared transformed, his demeanor becoming indifferent, his eyes devoid of any color, and a hint of dominance gracing his brow. He radiated an aura that seemed to oppress the heavens. subtly exuding an imperial might of his own. He was entirely unaffected by Xiaoxiao's awakening. Good heavens, these two individuals are anything but ordinary. Changsheng took a deep breath, astonished by his disciple's strength, while also feeling anxious about his own inadequacies. It was worth noting that his own talent was merely at the spirit tier. Inevitably, he would be surpassed by his disciples. Tonight, he would merge with the Longsheng body. With this thought, Changsheng resolutely made up his mind, fervently hoping that the fusion would lead to his transformation. Soon, Xiaoxiao's awakening was successful, and the intense fluctuations subsided, restoring the Yunshui temple to its former tranquility. Beside her, Suemo also returned to himself, a hint of innocence once again shining in his eyes. System, check on Xiaoxiao. Name, Xiaoxiao. Age, 16. Talent, superior saint level sealed. Realm, initial stage of divine storage, heart of divine storage. Physique, Ziwei imperial body. Special abilities, imperial fortune, destiny bestowed. Rebirth and recultivation, memories yet to awaken. Identity, second disciple of Yunshui Temple, Qingyun sect in the Eastern Domain. Former Empress Ziwei who suppressed the star domain in her past life. I knew it. I knew it. Changsheng took a deep breath, his entire being becoming numb, as he stared blankly at his two disciples. Haha. Chapter 11. Fusion of eternal life body numb, truly numb. With only two disciples. Yet both of them possess extraordinary backgrounds. One is a reincarnated soul, the other a reborn cultivator. How does it feel that they are even more remarkable than myself? A transmigrator? Changsheng maintained a stoic expression, quietly sipping his tea, secretly resolving that tonight he must fuse with the eternal life body to enhance his strength. Otherwise, if his disciples surpassed him, he, as their master, would be left without dignity. Master. At that moment, Xiaoxiao approached, respectfully bowing, her expression revealing a hint of hesitation. Changsheng, perceptive as always, noticed this and took a sip of tea before inquiring, "What troubles you?" Xiaoxiao suddenly lifted her head, her gaze resolute as she replied, "Master, my family is currently facing difficulties. Could you lend me your assistance?" Upon hearing this, Changsheng raised an eyebrow, initially expecting a more significant issue. But this was it. Regardless, the name Qingyun sect carries weight in the Eastern Domain. I understand. I will send someone shortly. By the way, where is your family located? As the observer of the sect, sending an elder or disciple would suffice. In Tianqing City, by family. Very well, come have some tea. Changsheng nodded slightly. Just then, Suemo approached, pouring 2 cups of tea and advising, "Both of you possess considerable talent. When cultivating, pluck a few leaves from the tree to brew tea or keep them in your mouth. It can enhance your cultivation speed." Hearing this, the two followed his gesture and beheld the towering enlightenment tree. Could this be the enlightenment tree? Xiaoxiao, being from the Bai family, despite its modest stature, was still part of a cultivating lineage. She had always enjoyed reading and had once come across records of the enlightenment tree in an ancient text. It is said that the enlightenment tree is enigmatic, with few ever knowing its whereabouts. Xiaoxiao gazed at the tree in astonishment, slowly uttering, "Moreover, the enlightenment tree is a legendary treasure. Even its leaves possess the ability to enhance comprehension." Indeed, Changsheng nodded slightly, then took out another volume of martial arts and placed it on the tea table, speaking calmly. "Now that you have both entered the threshold, it is time for me to impart some important matters. This volume of martial arts is the very technique created by the founder of our Qingyun sect, which, once cultivated, allows one to conceal their true cultivation level from external scrutiny. The most crucial point is that disciples of the Qingyun sect must practice this technique to obscure their own cultivation." Pausing for a moment, Changsheng continued, "Whether you are out in the world or within the Qingyun sect, you must always veil your true abilities and exercise utmost caution. Do you understand?" "Understood," the two replied, blinking and nodding, committing his words to memory. Additionally, there is a plaque within the cloud tower that records this information. You may wish to examine it later. Changsheng gestured towards the loft and said, "Very well. For now, you should practice the concealment technique and familiarize yourselves with the rules of the Qingyun sect." "Yes, master." Suemo and Xiaoxiao immediately nodded, perusing the concealment technique. Their innate talent and comprehension were exceptional, and with the enhancement of the enlightenment leaf, they grasped its essence in mere moments. Subsequently, their cultivation levels ascended from the divine abode realm to the spirit sea realm, effectively concealing a significant level of their power. Witnessing this scene, Changsheng smiled with satisfaction. Excellent, just like that. Soon, night fell. Changsheng settled himself within his chamber, silently calling out in his heart, "System, extract the Changsheng body, as per the usual procedure." Received, came the system's response. In the next moment, a wave of energy emanated throughout the room, sealing everything within. Immediately, A brilliant light enveloped Gu Changsheng, and an enigmatic aura gradually spread. The profound essence of the Tao enveloped his being, and resplendent Tao runes shimmered, adhering closely to his form. Boom! In an instant, a pillar of light soared into the heavens, stirring the tempestuous clouds of the nine skies. As countless bolts of thunder erupted in the firmament, composing a symphony of destruction, vast spiritual energy coalesced into whirlpools, swirling above the cloud tower, surging madly into Gu Changsheng's body, refining his meridians step by step, transforming his very physique. Even his cells were undergoing a slow metamorphosis. Time trickled by. In the blink of an eye, night receded, yielding to the dawn's embrace. After an entire night of transformation, Gu Changsheng finally concluded this process. Changsheng body integration complete. The system's voice echoed in his mind. Exhaling deeply, Gu Changsheng slowly opened his eyes, which appeared shrouded in a mist of chaos. He then clenched his fist, feeling the immense energy coursing within him. In just one night, he felt as if he had undergone a metamorphosis, and his aura had transformed. Though he could not quite articulate the change. System, display the current status panel. Host, Gu Changsheng. Age, 20. Talent, superior saint rank. Realm, initial stage of heavenly step. Physique, longevity body. Techniques, longevity art, breath concealment technique, primordial creation. Items, enlightenment tree, 7-star killing array. Innate illusion array, 9 heavens trapping array. Identity, master of Yunshui pavilion, Qingyan sect. After a cursory glance, Gu Changsheng smiled with satisfaction. The transformation he underwent after merging with the longevity body was monumental. His talent had not only ascended from spirit rank to superior saint rank, but his cultivation had also surged dramatically. Even the sect leader, Xuantian, was no longer a match for him. Quite splendid indeed. Gu Changsheng stretched lazily, opened the window, and embraced the sunlight, marveling at the splendid weather. System, check-in. Congratulations, host, for a successful check-in. Reward, 100 years of cultivation. At these words, Gu Changsheng's lips twitched. With his current talent at superior saint rank, a century of cultivation would propel him to new heights. Nevertheless, it was fortuitous. With strength came the capacity for self-preservation, which would further emphasize his master's authority. At that moment, Su Mo and Bai Xiao were diligently practicing in the open space. Master. Upon hearing the sound of the window being pushed open, the two looked up and immediately bowed in respect. Gu Changsheng nodded and slowly approached the tea table, gesturing lightly for them to continue. Life ought to unfold in such a manner. Disciples? It was a jest, given their current standing. It was hardly appropriate for him to instruct them. That would indeed misguide them. However, he could still provide resources. Reflecting on this, Gu Changsheng retrieved 2 storage rings and placed them on the tea table, speaking, "These contain resources for cultivation, 1 for each of you." The two paused momentarily, exchanging glances before approaching to take the rings in hand. "Thank you, master." They bowed respectfully. "Go cultivate." Gu Changsheng waved his hand. Within the storage rings lay over 1,000,000 premium spirit stones, along with numerous elixirs for cultivation. These were rewards he had amassed over the years through his check-ins. Chapter 12. Astonishment, the Saint's Secret Realm. To speak of other matters, throughout these years of check-ins, he had accumulated an abundance of spirit stones and elixirs. Perfectly. These resources could now be entrusted to his 2 disciples for management. Meanwhile, he leisurely sipped tea, occasionally sighing at the tranquility of time. As long as no major incidents arose, it was all good fortune for him. Yet, events seldom unfolded as one might wish. Changsheng, Changsheng. Suddenly, the voice of sect leader Xuantian echoed. Gu Changsheng's hand, poised to lift the teacup, froze. An ominous sensation surged within him. Uncle Master. Despite the unease, etiquette must be upheld. Please sit, please sit. Xuantian approached briskly, waving his hand to signal him to sit down. Master Uncle, have some tea. After sitting, Gu Changsheng promptly brewed a pot of tea using the enlightenment leaves and placed it before him. Upon lifting the teacup, he was unexpectedly met with a faint resonance of Tao, prompting him to glance up and tease. Among the Qingyan sect, you certainly know how to indulge yourself. Gu Changsheng scratched his head, refraining from defending himself. As he savored the tea, he quietly sensed the changes within him, experiencing a delightful clarity. However, this did not lead to any profound insights, so he set the teacup down and turned to Gu Changsheng, speaking earnestly. Recently, a secret realm has emerged in the Dongwang mountain range. According to the intelligence gathered, it only permits those under 30 to enter. Moreover, this secret realm is of significant origin, rumored to be left behind by a saint from a millennium ago. Instantly, Gu Changsheng's expression shifted in surprise. A legacy left by a saint? Did this not imply that it could stir upheaval in the eastern region? Perhaps even forces beyond the eastern region were aware of this saint's secret realm. Yet, he chose not to interrupt and continued listening. Approximately 7 days from now, the secret realm will open, so I wanted to ask if you would like to experience it. Xuantian raised an eyebrow, his gaze shifting towards Su Mo and Bai Xiao, clearly indicating his intention for them to gain some experience. After all, this opportunity was protected by the sect, and it was a rare chance to explore the saint's secret realm. Changsheng also noticed his gaze and felt a flicker of understanding. He intended for Su Mo and Bai Xiao to accompany the main group to the secret realm. Naturally, he would provide them with some life-saving items. However, the most crucial point was that ever since they awakened their physiques, the section for special abilities had transformed into 3 question marks. Even Changsheng was astounded. According to the system, this meant they were free from deadly tribulations. Any difficulties encountered would be effortlessly resolved. This was utterly absurd. Even Changsheng, a transmigrator, could not help but feel envious. Very well, let them take a trip then. Changsheng nodded and curiously inquired, do you know which saint left this secret realm? It is said to be the legacy of the Yunxiao saint. Xuantian took a sip of tea and slowly began to speak. The Yunxiao saint was born in the eastern region, overcoming numerous obstacles to ultimately ascend to the saint realm, announcing his presence to the world. However, later on, for reasons unknown, the Yunxiao saint suddenly returned to the eastern region. It is rumored that he suffered grave injuries and had little time left, hence his return. Yet, the specifics of the situation remain a mystery known only to him. This is merely what I have gleaned from ancient texts. Upon hearing this, Changsheng stroked his chin, pondering the implications of a sudden return from severe injury. Did this not resemble the treatment of a protagonist? Nevertheless, he chose not to dwell on it, and stated, Master Uncle, my 2 disciples have only recently embarked on their cultivation journey. If they were to venture into the secret realm, it could be exceedingly perilous. Thus, I hope the sect's disciples will be understanding. Although they are not destined for calamity, he can still provide them with means for survival. However, the circumstances within the secret realm are notoriously perilous. Moreover, considering he has only 2 disciples, both with formidable backgrounds, it is only natural for him to offer them earnest advice. Xuantian waved his hand and, with a serious expression, assured them, rest assured, I will counsel the disciples within the sect. That's good to hear. Now, I must take my leave to attend to important matters. Safe travels, Master. After seeing Xuantian off, Changsheng finally sat down and quickly beckoned the 2 practicing disciples over. Master? The 2 hurriedly approached, their expressions filled with curiosity. Changsheng, adopting a solemn demeanor, stated earnestly, in approximately 7 days, a sacred secret realm will be unveiled in the Donghuang mountain range. I intend to have both of you accompany the sect's disciples to explore it. What do you think? While he hoped for his disciples to venture into the sacred realm, he still granted them the autonomy to decide for themselves. After all, it was a sacred secret realm, and perhaps they would recollect something within its confines. A sacred secret realm? Suddenly, Su Mo and Bai Xiao were taken aback. Bai Xiao already understood the significance of a saint, while Su Mo, through his recent cultivation, had come to realize the formidable power that saints wield. It could be said that a saint epitomizes the pinnacle of strength in a given region. Saints possess the ability to alter the very fabric of the universe, proclaiming their might to the world. Moreover, a saint can establish a sacred ground above all top-tier powers. Such an existence is undeniably terrifying. Indeed, it seems to be the sacred realm left behind by the Yuntian saint from a millennium ago. Changsheng sipped his tea, nodding slightly, and added, ultimately, the decision to go or not rests entirely upon your shoulders. Upon hearing this, Su Mo and Bai Xiao fell silent. After all, their current strength was still insufficient. They were merely at the divine concealment stage. Furthermore, secret realms are inherently fraught with danger, let alone a saint's secret realm, where the perils would multiply exponentially. However, after a brief moment of hesitation, both made their decision. I want to go and witness the sacred realm. Their expressions were resolute, devoid of any fear or hesitation. In a fleeting moment, Changsheng seemed to perceive 2 ethereal figures behind them. One, with an indifferent demeanor, appeared to govern all living things. The other, exuding a commanding aura, stood atop all beings, exerting an overwhelming presence. Yet he understood that these were not mere illusions but the former lives of Su Mo and Bai Xiao, one a master of a forbidden zone, the other the Empress of Ziwei. Both were not to be trifled with. To be frank, Changsheng felt that saints appeared as insignificant as ants before them. Shaking his head, he cast aside the fantastical thoughts, and upon refocusing on the 2, he noticed the ethereal figures had vanished. Very well, in light of this, you shall double your training over the next 7 days to enhance your strength. Then, Changsheng continued, the enlightenment tree has always been in that location. While you are cultivating, you may pluck a leaf to hold in your mouth. One may also utilize the water within the guan, brewing a pot of tea, which would undoubtedly enhance the efficacy of your cultivation. Chapter 13. The Zhongzhou, the Supreme Sacred Land. Not to mention, the water within the Yunshui guan is no ordinary liquid. It is entirely comprised of celestial spirit essence. When combined with the enlightenment leaves, the effects are magnified exponentially. Engaging in cultivation feels akin to being endowed with a double buff, propelling one's progress as if one were riding a rocket. However, for Gu Changsheng, such aspirations are utterly unattainable. Cultivation? It is an impossibility in this lifetime. His entire prowess relies solely on the rewards bestowed by the system. Such is the audacity of his situation. In the eastern domain, news of a hidden realm for sages within the Dongwang mountain range has swiftly spread. More and more individuals are becoming aware of this revelation. Astonishing. There exists a hidden realm for sages in the eastern domain. Such a notion could astonish me for an entire year. What is this? What utter disdain for the eastern domain? Speak plainly. It is not that I harbor contempt for the eastern domain, but rather, it simply lacks any sacred lands. The seven foremost powers have already claimed that status. I suddenly find your argument compelling. Initially, there were those who sought to contest this assertion but found themselves bereft of any rationale to do so. It is a matter that strikes at the heart of the issue. The leak of this information has evoked joy in many, yet conversely, it has incited fury in others. The Breaking Cloud sect, the premier among the seven elite powers of the Eastern Domain, finds the revelation of the hidden realm infuriating, longing to exact vengeance upon the informant. Their original plan was for the seven elite powers to collectively seize the hidden realm. As the most formidable force in the Eastern Domain, the Breaking Cloud sect envisioned themselves thriving within the hidden realm. They had already envisioned the resources contained within and the ascendance of their sect. Yet now, this revelation has shattered their dreams. The transmission of information is now nearly impossible to contain. The hidden realm is coveted by all. Moreover, the nearest sect is the supreme sacred land of Zhongzhou. That is indeed a sacred land, a place that has birthed sages and possesses sacred artifacts. In a confrontation, the Breaking Cloud sect would be wholly outmatched by the supreme sacred land, akin to being effortlessly defeated. The disparity is glaring. Cursed be the situation. With the news now public, it is certain that the supreme sacred land has also received this intelligence. It will not be long before they send emissaries to the Eastern Domain. The leader of the Breaking Cloud sect gritted his teeth in frustration, vexed at the thought that a sacred land from Zhongzhou would intercede in what is fundamentally a hidden realm of the Eastern Domain. What? Prevent the sacred land from entering the Eastern Domain? That would be tantamount to courting disaster. What defines a sacred land? It is a place that has once birthed sages, and still wields the means and artifacts left behind by them, thus qualifying as a sacred land. To speak bluntly, if they do not permit the sacred land to enter the Eastern Domain, then the infinite sacred land can forcefully penetrate the Eastern Domain. It is an unfortunate reality that might makes right. The most prudent course of action is to extend an invitation to the infinite sacred land at this juncture. The elder of the Breaking Cloud sect pondered, suggesting that perhaps we might gain the favor of the sacred land through this endeavor. A moment of silence enveloped the meeting room as all contemplated the elder's words. There are both advantages and disadvantages to this proposition. What if the infinite sacred land remains unaware? Would we not be delivering the secret realm into the hands of others? This could potentially lead to a loss of resources within the secret realm. After all, they are quite confident that no one in the Eastern Domain can surpass the Breaking Cloud sect. However, should the infinite sacred land be aware of the existence of the saint's secret realm while we feign ignorance in our invitation, it might lead to a favorable regard from the sacred land. It could lay the groundwork for future interactions, and perhaps even turn the infinite sacred land into their ultimate support. Once backed by the infinite sacred land, the Eastern Domain would become the possession of the Breaking Cloud sect. Of course, this is contingent upon removing the Qingyun sect, a formidable and unfathomable opponent. The sect leader contemplated for a long while, torn between choices. Ultimately, steeling his resolve, he declared in a deep voice, "Send someone to invite the infinite sacred land." As you command. At this moment, in a vast and boundless realm teeming with life, countless souls reside here. Within this expansive territory, numerous sects and empires flourish. Near the Eastern Domain lies the territory of the infinite sacred land. The infinite sacred land is an island floating in the air, connected to the earth by a straight river below. Upon the island, buildings cluster and crowds ebb and flow. The first sight that greets the eye is a street lined with shops and taverns, where many wander about. At the end of the street lies a staircase leading to the sacred land. Looking up, one can behold a magnificent hall established amidst the clouds, inscribed with the four characters "Infinite Sacred Land." Merely these four characters evoke an inability to gaze directly upon them, as a faint pressure emanates from the lettering. These were penned by a true sage, using the earth as a plaque and the heavens as a brush, crafted with great care. Naturally, they are extraordinary. Upon entering the hall, one finds a spacious outer hall surrounded by a repository of scriptures, a task hall, an alchemy pavilion, a forging workshop, a merit hall, a law enforcement hall, and more. Within the infinite sacred land, the landscape is painted with mountains and waters, adorned with white clouds, and suffused with an ethereal aura, exuding the majesty of the sacred land, imparting a hint of otherworldly charm. At this moment, within the Star Observation Pavilion, the Lord of the Infinite Sacred Land, Lin Xuantian, sat in silence beside the pavilion master, savoring tea. The emergence of the saint's secret realm in the eastern domain has arisen. I wonder what your thoughts are on this matter. The pavilion master did not respond but continued to sip his tea, occasionally glancing at the star chart nearby. Seeing his demeanor, Lin Xuantian remained silent, patiently waiting. Typically, during significant matters, he would come to the stargazing pavilion to consult the enigmatic figure known as Imobuyu. After all, Imobuyu possesses extraordinary abilities, not merely in terms of strength, but in other realms. For instance, armed with his star chart, he can deduce fortunes and misfortunes by observing the celestial bodies, and has even predicted numerous events throughout history. Even Lin Xuantian, the Holy Sovereign, holds Imobuyu in profound reverence. The achievements of the Wujia Holy Land owe a considerable debt to Imobuyu's contributions. After a lengthy pause, Imobuyu set down his teacup, shook his head slightly, and sighed. It eludes understanding. It is inscrutable. Upon hearing this, Lin Xuantian's brow furrowed deeper, and his expression shifted subtly as he immediately inquired, "Is it a secret realm?" "No." Imobuyu frowned, his gaze unwavering as he stared intently at the distant star chart, murmuring, "How could this be? Could it be that a powerful being has intervened?" Chapter 14. The Aftermath of Taking Disciples. Hearing this, Lin Xuantian's frown deepened, yet he was also engulfed in intrigue. The two were clearly on different wavelengths, each speaking their own thoughts. At this moment, Imobuyu lifted his gaze to meet Lin Xuantian's, then turned his attention to the far-off east. After a moment's silence, he spoke. "Recently, two stars have been shining in the skies of the eastern region. One is the Z-Wei Emperor star, which governs the other stars, while the other is equally formidable." With this revelation, Lin Xuantian immediately grasped the implication and quickly looked towards the east. "Are you suggesting that two prodigies have emerged in that region?" Imobuyu nodded, his face contorting with concern as he stated solemnly, "Originally, I could deduce their locations based on the stars' positions. However, the stars have now dimmed, rendering any predictions impossible. Even if I were to force a deduction, it would yield no results. This situation indicates one of two possibilities. Either the individuals have perished, or a powerful entity is concealing their presence." After a brief pause, Imobuyu continued, "I personally lean towards the latter." Lin Xuantian began to comprehend that while two prodigies had indeed appeared in the eastern region, their associated stars had abruptly dimmed, thwarting Imobuyu's ability to ascertain their locations. "What of our journey to the east? Is it feasible?" "It is viable. There is no calamity." Imobuyu nodded slightly, taking another sip of tea and reverting to his silence, embodying his name, silent and inscrutable. Only Lin Xuantian could elicit such a discourse from him. Thus, it became imperative for Lin Xuantian to venture to the eastern region. Narrowing his eyes, his ambitions swelled, and he thought it would also be an opportunity to observe the exceptional talents of that land. Nevertheless, he remained somewhat indifferent to the prodigies of the eastern region, recognizing that varying locales and factions foster vastly different levels of power. His utterance stemmed merely from curiosity regarding the two prodigies mentioned by Imobuyu. How do these two prodigies compare to the disciples of the sacred land? Do you desire the truth or a fabrication? Imobuyu, rarely smiling, countered with a question. Upon hearing this, Lin Xuantian narrowed his eyes, already possessing an answer. However, Imobuyu paid no heed to this and continued speaking. Judging by the celestial phenomena during that period, the talents of those two prodigies surpassed all others in the sacred land. Naturally, the path of cultivation is fraught with peril, a struggle against both man and heaven. Only those who truly grow can be deemed prodigies. The initial statement was indeed the truth, while the subsequent remark served to console Lin Xuantian. After all, Lin Xuantian was the lord of the sacred land and had invested immense effort for the entirety of the realm. Hearing that his cultivated disciples were so thoroughly overshadowed would naturally cause discomfort, thus requiring some words of solace. "Lord," a voice suddenly resonated from outside the Star Observation Pavilion. "What is it?" Lin Xuantian set down his teacup and inquired with indifference. "Visitors from the Breaking Cloud sect have arrived, claiming to have urgent matters to discuss with you." "Breaking Cloud sect? Urgent matters?" This left Lin Xuantian with a multitude of questions, as he could not recall any past dealings with the Breaking Cloud sect. Moreover, what an unappealing name for a sect. Internally ridiculing, Lin Xuantian rose and proceeded toward the door. I shall take my leave for now. I will return another time. Within the reception hall, the third elder of the Breaking Cloud sect sat observing the entire Wuji's sacred land, astonishment growing within him with each passing moment. It felt as though a country bumpkin had ventured into the city, wide-eyed with wonder. In terms of strength, architecture, and environment, it was a complete domination. Moments later, Lin Xuantian entered the grand hall and took his seat at the head of the table, speaking calmly. I am the lord of the Wuji sacred land. What matters do you wish to discuss? Instantly, the third elder rose, clasping his hands in a gesture of respect, and stated, I am the third elder of the Breaking Cloud sect. I have come because a sacred realm has appeared in the eastern Desolation mountain range. The mention of the sacred one is indeed a matter of great nobility, aligning perfectly with the qualifications of the sacred land. Upon hearing these words, Lin Xuantian inwardly scoffed. He had heard such flattery countless times before. Such sycophancy. First, they extolled the sacred one's nobility, suggesting it was beyond the realm of mere mortals, thereby elevating the status of the sacred land. Quite clever. He then feigned an expression of surprise and promptly asked, Is this matter confirmed? Is it truly a sacred realm? Without a doubt. I would not dare to deceive you regarding this. The third elder nodded affirmatively. Very well, I understand. Lin Xuantian took a deep breath, excitement coursing through him. If the situation were indeed as stated, the Breaking Cloud sect would be duly rewarded. However, the news was rather abrupt. So I shall take my leave now. Very well, very well. The third elder nodded with a smiling face, though internally he felt powerless and resentful. A sacred realm had finally emerged, yet they could not monopolize it. Moreover, the notion of a reward felt reminiscent of an upper-class individual addressing a subordinate. After the message was conveyed, the three elders did not linger and hurried back to the eastern domain overnight. In the blink of an eye, 7 days had passed. Within the Qingyun sect, at the Yunshui Pavilion, Changsheng took out 2 storage rings, placing one in the hands of Su Mo and the other in by Xiaoxiao's. While advising them, during this time, you have become acquainted with the various types of talismans. Fortunately, these rings contain elixirs, spirit stones, and talismans. If you encounter danger, simply throw the talismans. Do not worry about wasting them. Furthermore, when venturing outside, remember the sect's principles. At that moment, he resembled a mother imparting endless reminders to her departing children. Yes, master. I understand, the two replied, nodding in agreement. For they had heard tales of the perils within the secret realm. They had not merely been cultivating in seclusion. They had also been reading to enhance their knowledge. Changsheng. It's almost time to set off, Su Qian's voice interrupted. All right, I understand, Changsheng replied, taking a deep breath. He affectionately ruffled their hair, smiled gently, and said, I believe in you both. Go forth. Yes, master, goodbye. We will return shortly. The two hurried down from the Yunshui Pavilion and made their way to the gathering square. Su Qian appeared by his side, softly stating, I initially intended for you to accompany them, considering you have yet to surpass the age of 30. Upon hearing this, Changsheng paused, astonished. Oh, it seems that is indeed the case. Could it be that having disciples has made me feel like an elderly person? He mused. Is there such a side effect to taking on disciples? You might not have anticipated this, Su Qian remarked with a peculiar expression, while Changsheng's silence elicited a look of disbelief from him, as if he were gazing at a fool. Soon, Chapter 15, The Appearance of the 7 Top Forces. Before long, Su Qian departed as well, for the disciples had nearly gathered outside the grand hall, and he too needed to proceed to the sage's secret realm. The significance of the sage's secret realm was immense, fraught with danger. At this moment, Changsheng found himself deeply contemplative due to Su Qian's words. How had he not realized this? He was, after all, a young and handsome lad of 20. System task has appeared. Please make a choice promptly. Option 1. Rather than worrying at Yunshui Pavilion, it is better to proactively venture into the sage's secret realm, rewarding with the saint-level technique, the hidden chi art. Option 2. The sage's secret realm is too perilous. It is wiser to remain safely at Yunshui Pavilion, rewarding with the saint-level technique, the tranquil heart art. Suddenly, the voice of the system resonated in his mind, leaving him somewhat taken aback, as this was the first time he had encountered a task with choices from the system. Could this also be attributed to the presence of his disciples? After acquiring a disciple, the resources for rewards have become significantly more abundant, unlocking additional functionalities within the system. System, I choose 1. The host has made a choice. The rewards will be dispensed when the host reaches the sage's secret domain. As the system indicated, rather than fretting over their safety at the Cloudwater Pavilion, it would be more prudent to covertly venture to the sage's secret domain to ensure their well-being. Why the need for stealth? This consideration stems from Gu Changsheng's apprehension that his appearance might instill a false sense of security in Su Mo and Bai Xiaoxiao, thereby diminishing their sense of danger and urgency. If that were to occur, their outdoor training would be rendered futile. Although he yearned for self-preservation, his desire to safeguard his disciples was paramount. After all, as their master, it was inconceivable to remain indifferent. Upon this realization, he promptly returned to the cloud tower, meticulously disguising himself. Transforming from a strikingly handsome young man into an inconspicuous ordinary person, he became a mere shadow within the crowd, hardly drawing attention. Excellent. Gu Changsheng nodded in satisfaction as he gazed at his reflection in the mirror. He then concealed his aura, not revealing a trace, and stealthily approached the outer hall. Below him stood the disciples who were to embark on the journey to the sage's secret domain, at least 100 in number. In the next moment, a spirit boat materialized before the assembly. Once the disciples, along with a cadre of elders and the sect leader, had boarded, Su Qian waved his arm and called out, "Let us depart." With a sudden surge, the spirit boat vibrated beneath them, slowly ascending into the sky. Once the direction was confirmed, the vessel accelerated. Meanwhile, Su Qian stood on the deck, observing the neatly arranged disciples, and began to advise them. The journey to the sage's secret domain is fraught with peril. You must band together for warmth and feign weakness before the enemy. However, Gu Changsheng, hidden in the void, could not help but roll his eyes at these words, muttering to himself, with this group of individuals concealing their true powers, who can fathom their actual levels? He couldn't help but ponder the blurred lines between hunter and prey. At that moment, Su Qian reiterated, unless absolutely necessary, avoid conflict with others. Yet, should a confrontation arise, ensure to eliminate the opponent completely and erase all traces of the act. Upon hearing this, the disciples exchanged bewildered glances, their expressions reflecting the absurdity of such a statement. Goodness, it sounds akin to murder and plunder, Gu Changsheng silently critiqued, lamenting the nature of his sect, which seemed a veritable gathering of demons and monsters. In the East Huang mountain range, with the news of the sage's secret domain spreading, many had begun to arrive in succession days prior. However, the majority were solitary cultivators, with sects being a rare occurrence. As the seventh day arrived, various sects began to appear one after another, predominantly those of second and third tier influence. While the first tier forces had yet to make their entrance, it was not until an hour later that the Fengling sect, one of the 7 premier powers, gracefully descended upon the scene aboard a spirit vessel, casting a vast shadow over the crowd below. As the vessel landed, the sound of swallowed breaths rippled through the onlookers. This was due to the fact that the Fengling sect was composed entirely of women, adorned in remarkably revealing attire. The sight of their ample snow-white garments captivated the audience. Most importantly, each of them seemed to possess an enchanting allure. Every smile, every gesture exuded an irresistible charm, leaving the crowd utterly spellbound. Suddenly, a cold snort echoed from the heavens, followed by the arrival of another shadow, which also belonged to a spirit vessel. Upon recognizing the newcomer, the crowd wore expressions of realization, understanding why the Fengling sect had garnered such remarks among the masses. The vessel belonged to the Beastmaster sect, another one of the 7 top-tier forces. It was well known that the Beastmaster sect and the Fengling sect had a long-standing rivalry, frequently found at odds in various settings. With a sigh of resignation, an elder from the Fengling sect remarked, "After all, who would choose to play with beasts when presented with such exquisite women?" This statement incited considerable ire among the members of the Beastmaster sect, with an elder puffing up in indignation, wishing to rush forward and silence her insolence. Is it truly absurd? You know in your hearts the truth. The elder from the Fengling sect stifled a laugh, her eyes sparkling like the moon, as she inadvertently let her shoulder strap slip, accentuating her pristine beauty. The crowd gasped in astonishment, their eyes fixated on the display. Even if this venture yielded no fortune, it was certainly not in vain. After all, who would not relish such a spectacle? Ah, after all these years, your rivalry remains as fierce as ever, one onlooker chuckled. In the next moment, the spirit vessel of the Poyan sect glided into view, landing in the central position, signifying its status as the strongest in the eastern domain. Upon the arrival of the Poyan sect, both the Fengling sect and the Beastmaster sect turned their heads away, ceasing their quarrel. Soon after, the Tianjian sect, Shandao sect, Luyun sect, and Xingyun sect made their appearances, gathering all 7 of the eastern domain's premier forces. Simultaneously, numerous other individuals were making their way to this location. On the spirit vessel of the Xingyun sect, an elder holding an array plate approached Su Qian, whispering, "According to the fluctuations of the array plate, the secret realm will not open for another hour." Su Qian nodded slightly, his gaze shifting toward the other top-tier forces. Chapter 16. Is this fellow truly that courageous? The other top-tier forces were all focused on the secret realm, while the Poyan sect seemed to be searching for something with ill intent. What exactly were these dubious individuals seeking? Years of disputes have fostered in Xuantian a profound aversion towards the Breaking Cloud sect, to the point of outright disdain. Their actions are strikingly hypocritical, often cloaked in the guise of righteousness while engaging in nefarious deeds. Meanwhile, Changsheng has finally arrived at this location, albeit at a pace slightly slower than that of the spirit vessel. Ah, how lively it is, truly befitting of a saint's presence. As he surveyed the throngs of people below, Changsheng couldn't help but click his tongue, his gaze falling upon 6 individuals radiating an air of authority. Undoubtedly, given their positions and the area they occupied, they belong to the other 6 top-tier powers. System, how long until this secret realm opens? Changsheng inquired silently within his mind. 1 hour, the system replied tersely. Upon learning that only an hour remained, Changsheng promptly settled into a cross-legged position in the void, his keen eyes scanning the crowd for potential threats. After a moment, he nodded in satisfaction, murmuring softly, not bad, none here surpass me. At least among those present, aside from himself, none possessed a cultivation level of the inquiry realm or higher. Thus, he felt a sense of relief. Half an hour later, the sky suddenly darkened, a colossal shadow enveloping an area of 100,000 miles. Almost immediately, an incredibly oppressive aura descended from the heavens, weighing heavily upon everyone present. What on earth is happening? Is the saint's secret realm about to manifest? Many felt their shoulders sag, their legs bending slightly, their faces contorted in grimaces as they clenched their jaws tightly. Aside from the top sects, few formidable individuals had come to this place. Such an imposing presence. The master of the Fengling sect narrowed her phoenix-like eyes, a slight curve of her crimson lips suggesting a smile that masked a deeper mockery. Surely, this isn't a force from the eastern region? The master of the Beastmaster sect kept a stern expression, his gaze piercing through the heavens to scrutinize the essence of the shadow, his eyes widening in shock. The Wujia Holy Land. Xuantian furrowed his brow deeply, his countenance darkening as he murmured softly, what are they doing here? This is not a good sign. After all, this was a holy land, a power that transcended the top sects. They have finally arrived. Strangely, the master of the Breaking Cloud sect seemed to breathe a sigh of relief, perhaps due to the allegiance he had pledged. Hidden in the void, Changsheng furrowed his brow, perplexed as he gazed at the immense spirit vessel. The Wujia Holy Land. Isn't that a force from the Central Continent? Changsheng pondered aloud. Even if news travels swiftly, considering the distance between the eastern region and the Central Continent, it shouldn't have reached this place so quickly. The journey from the eastern region to the Central Continent required several months, even aboard a spirit vessel. Even a formidable being of the true self-realm, capable of traversing the void, requires nearly half a year to reach the fringes of the Central Continent. Of course, both the Eastern Domain and the Central Continent are equipped with teleportation arrays. However, these arrays are predominantly under the jurisdiction of the 7 paramount powers, and anyone who has utilized them is recorded in their archives. This is precisely where Changsheng harbors his doubts. After all, this is the sacred realm of saints. Without the emergence of an emperor, saints are essentially invincible entities. Moreover, their presence in the Eastern Domain is undoubtedly fortuitous for them. Thus, they would never disseminate this information, nor allow the sacred land to become aware of it. For if the sacred land were to learn of it, they would inevitably come, and the sacred realm would bid them farewell. What could possibly be the matter? Just as he pondered this, he suddenly observed the expression of the leader of the Breaking Cloud sect and instantly comprehended the situation. In the next moment, a shadow descended, as an immensely colossal spirit vessel gradually lowered, exuding an overwhelming aura. Upon witnessing this, the leaders of the 7 paramount powers simultaneously stepped forward, raising their hands to dispel the oppressive atmosphere surrounding them. Soon after, a vessel of crystal hue came into view, capable of accommodating up to 100,000 individuals. Quite grand indeed. Upon the deck of the spirit vessel stood a man with hair as white as snow, garbed in a flowing azure robe. One hand casually resting behind his back, his expression one of utter indifference and tranquility. This individual is none other than Shingo, the Grand Elder of the Infinite Sacred Land. After all, no matter how significant the sacred realm may be, it could never warrant the personal presence of the Sacred Lord. The Sacred Lord must remain at the Sacred Land to guard against potential assaults. Once the spirit vessel steadied, Shingo finally allowed a faint smile to grace his features. Addressing Xuantian and the others with a nonchalant tone, "Gentlemen, I trust you are all well." So it was the Sacred Land's arrival. I wondered who bore such imposing stature, remarked the leader of the Beastmaster sect with a sardonic edge. Despite being from the Sacred Land, he would never stoop to demean himself. As a leader, he must uphold his pride and dignity. What do you mean by that? Before Xingu could respond, a disciple behind him could no longer contain himself and stepped forward to question him. Return. At once, Xingu turned his head, casting a cold glance that reprimanded. I am conversing with your sect leader. What qualifications do you, a mere disciple, have to interject? At this scolding, the disciple silently retreated. Yet he secretly vowed to remember the Beastmaster sect. After all, allowing such humiliation to go unavenged was simply not an option. Soon, Xingu once again donned a smile, looking at the leader of the Beastmaster sect with an apologetic grin. My apologies, my disciple is rather undisciplined. Yet, in the very next second, his smile turned frigid as he remarked coolly, however, I am not particularly fond of your Beastmaster sect's attitude. I have heard that you enjoy collecting rare and exotic beasts. Coincidentally, I intend to have my disciples adopt a group of strays. What do you think? A threat. An unabashed threat. Strays, you say? How absurd. What do you mean by strays? To annihilate your Beastmaster sect would surely qualify as creating strays, would it not? The master of the Beast Control sect trembled with rage, on the verge of erupting, yet upon recalling the identity of his counterpart, he regained his composure and chuckled. I was merely jesting. The wandering beasts outside are exceptionally fierce. It would be dreadful if any disciples of your esteemed Holy Land were to suffer harm. Although he could not unleash his fury, he still delighted in bantering. After all, the eastern region was his domain, and he felt a sense of discomfort if he did not engage in some verbal sparring. How bold this individual is. In the void, Changsheng wore a peculiar expression, silently giving the master of the Beast Control sect a thumbs up. Chapter 17. Pure desire. One cannot deny the audacity of the master of the Beast Control sect. Although the headquarters of the Wujia Holy Land lies in the central region, annihilating the Beast Control sect would be a simple task. With the sacred artifact in hand, one could obliterate the Beast Control sect within a day. After all, there exists an insurmountable chasm between top-tier forces and Holy Lands. The arrival of the Holy Land is indeed a splendid enhancement to the eastern region. At this moment, the master of the Breaking Cloud sect stepped forward, chuckling as he welcomed their presence. Xingu cast a cold glance in his direction, decidedly preferring the master of the Beast Control sect. Changsheng. When the sage's secret realm opens, lead the disciples inside. Xingu instructed a young man behind him with an air of indifference. Yes, Grand Elder, Li Qingsong replied, nodding. Clad in a light blue robe, his long hair was meticulously arranged beneath a feathered crown. His features were exquisite, exuding an extraordinary aura, and he held a folding fan, resembling a refined young gentleman. He was also one of the candidates for the current Holy Son of the Wujia Holy Land, boasting a mid-level transformation into a dragon realm at a young age, with a talent reaching the upper echelon of the king level, merely a step away from the sage level. With his innate gifts and prowess, he could easily stand unrivaled among the assembly. After all, those gathered here represented the entirety of the young generation in the eastern region, yet the most formidable among them was merely Tang Lin, the chief disciple of the Breaking Cloud sect, whose demonstrated realm was only mid-level in the divine concealment realm. Li Qingsong was on an entirely different plane. At this juncture, many were scrutinizing Li Qingsong, including the Fengling sect, clad in a light blue robe, adorned with a feathered crown and wielding a yin-yang fan. The master of the Fengling sect observed discreetly, whispering to herself, it seems I was correct. He is indeed one of the candidates for the Holy Son of the Wujia Holy Land, Li Qingsong. Master. At that moment, the Grand Elder of the Fengling sect softly called her name. Yes, I am aware. The master nodded slightly, concealing half her face with the fan as she conveyed secretly. He must be Li Qingsong. Once we enter the secret realm, it would be advantageous for Xiao to engage with him, as it may prove beneficial to connect with the resources of the Holy Land in the future. I understand. The Grand Elder promptly withdrew to summon Wang Xiao, whispering quietly. Instantly, Wang Xiao's complexion flushed a deep crimson, her gaze playfully chiding as it turned towards Li Qingsong. Gradually, an insatiable desire glimmered in her eyes. Fengling sect, a sanctuary exclusively for women, is renowned for its enchanting disciples, each possessing remarkable beauty, yet most cultivate their skills through methods of nourishing yin and supplementing yang. Wang Xiao is the sect's meticulously nurtured chief disciple. Adorned in a flowing purple gown, her exquisite features are complemented by her smooth, fair skin, while her delicate arms and shapely calves draw the admiration of all present. Her waist is tightly cinched, accentuating her alluring curves, embodying the epitome of temptation with a face that radiates desire. It is as if the word "Wan" is perpetually etched upon her visage. Yet an undercurrent of coldness adds to her irresistible allure. Even Changsheng found himself momentarily entranced upon catching sight of her, her charm undeniably potent. With Wang Xiao's beauty, many in the eastern region regard her as their dream goddess, and even disciples from the 7 other top-tier factions find themselves ensnared by her allure. Wait, why does it seem that the goddess's gaze towards that fellow is rather peculiar? Oh dear, could it be that just one glance has ensnared her? Woe is me. Mother, I have suffered a heartbreak. How infuriating. That fellow is merely a tad more handsome, a shade stronger, and of finer lineage than I. It seems there is no fault in girls admiring those of noble birth and striking appearance. In an instant, countless hearts lamented their unrequited love. All because of the way Wang Xiao looked at Li Qingsong, as if she were entranced, a blush adorning her cheeks. It was utterly absurd. Gu Changsheng could only exclaim in admiration, recognizing the exceptional skill of her allure. Li Qingsong aboard the spirit vessel also sensed the unusual gazes directed his way, and upon glancing over, a fleeting expression of astonishment flickered in his eyes. Just a single look ignited a fervent blaze within him. Fortunately, he managed to suppress it in time, or else a rather embarrassing situation would have ensued. Meanwhile, Xuantian secretly advised the disciples, warning them that individuals from the Holy Land had arrived, raising the stakes of danger. Yet, his counsel remained clear: caution is paramount. Refrain from drawing unnecessary attention to avoid inciting jealousy. Moreover, should any disputes arise, one must deliver a decisive blow to eliminate the opponent completely, ensuring that no traces of battle remain. Upon hearing this, the disciples nodded in agreement, though they still felt an odd tension in the air. As time passed swiftly, an hour soon elapsed. Suddenly, a thunderous roar erupted. The heavens darkened ominously as a torrent of dense clouds swept over the eastern region, with countless bolts of lightning flickering ominously within, intermittently heralding a symphony of destruction. The atmosphere shifted dramatically, and the spiritual energy became chaotic, spiraling into a vortex that hovered ominously above the secret realm. In the next moment, a beam of ethereal light suddenly descended, penetrating the depths of the secret realm. A low hum reverberated through the air, and in an instant, the very ground trembled, fissures erupting across the landscape. The mountains crumbled in a heartbeat, while dark clouds above unleashed torrents of destruction-laden thunderbolts, crashing down upon the secret realm. With a thunderous roar, the lightning transformed into a surge of energy, merging into the depths of the realm. However, this provoked the wrath of the thunder, which unleashed even more terrifying energy, threatening to obliterate the surroundings. Fortunately, the intervention of the sacred land and the 7 premier factions averted total annihilation. Otherwise, countless souls would have perished beneath the fury of the storm. Was this the omen heralding the emergence of the sage's secret realm? Shen Ge gazed ahead, his brow slightly furrowed, marveling at the extraordinary transformation of the heavens and the terror of the lightning. Even he, a peak cultivator of the true self-realm, dared not recklessly provoke the thunder, lest he summon the tribulation. The tribulation was an entity that every cultivator dreaded to confront. A moment's carelessness could lead to their downfall. Su Qian raised his hand to shield himself from the overwhelming gusts of energy, exclaiming, "Truly worthy of the sage's secret realm, such a commotion accompanies its emergence." As he spoke, he witnessed myriad rays of light coalescing above the secret realm, where a long spear materialized, piercing through the tumultuous clouds and dispersing them entirely. Chapter 18. The Fearsome Means of the Sage. In an instant, the oppressive clouds vanished, and the world once again basked in clarity. Yet, the surrounding environment lay in utter disarray. Suddenly, the secret realm quaked violently, revealing a colorful, illusory vortex before the gathered onlookers. Was this the entrance? Shen Ge narrowed his eyes, refraining from instructing his disciples to advance. Instead, he lifted 2 fingers, directing a wandering cultivator to plunge into the vortex. By the heavens! What a celestial farce! Your entire family is heartless. Your doom shall come. The wandering cultivator, sensing the impending danger as he approached the entrance, attempted to reclaim control over his body, but found himself powerless. Thus, he resorted to cursing vehemently. What else could he do before the end? After all, it was common knowledge that the entrance of a newly manifested secret realm was often unstable. Rash entry could easily ensnare one in a tempest of the void. Such storms were terrifying. Even those at the dragon transformation realm would struggle to escape unscathed. Not to mention, this wandering cultivator was merely at the spiritual sea realm. Yet, in the next heartbeat, he found himself safely drawn into the vortex, transported within by a wave of energy. Instantly, Shen Ge raised an eyebrow and waved his hand, declaring, "The entrance is stable, you may enter." Upon hearing this, Li Qingsong nodded to his disciples behind him, then took the lead, stepping into the void and entering the secret realm. Only after the members of the sacred land had entered did the 7 factions finally make their move. Regarding the order of arrival, it is indeed of some significance to them. Those who first enter the secret realm gain an advantage in understanding its intricacies and can make better choices regarding their path forward. Though it may seem like just a few seconds, what if time flows more slowly within the secret realm? However, the opposing party is, after all, from a holy land. There is no need to dispute this matter with them, as such contention would yield no favorable outcome. Changsheng, too, entered the secret realm alongside the main force of the Xuantian sect. Within the realm, he did not encounter any members of the Xuantian sect, but instead found himself among a group of unfamiliar individuals, comprising both loose cultivators and disciples from other sections. Could it be a random teleportation? Changsheng pondered, pinching his chin, and then seemed to recall something, prompting him to think. System, where is my reward? Detection indicates that the host has completed the task. The reward has been dispatched to the system space. Immediately, Changsheng opened the system space and beheld a tome of cultivation lying quietly within. Upon extracting it, the hidden breath technique transformed into a stream of light, surging into his consciousness, automatically cultivating to perfection. Truly, it is a sacred tier technique. Its prowess is undeniable. After a moment of reflection, Changsheng couldn't help but exclaim, "This is vastly superior to the sect's breath concealment technique." He swiftly activated the hidden breath technique, concealing his cultivation level by 2 major realms, revealing only the aura of an early true self stage. He must find them quickly. With a flicker of his gaze, he scanned the dim surroundings. Where water dripped and coral was abundant, suggesting this place had once been an ocean. However, he did not linger, slipping once more into the void, traversing through it to avoid interactions with others and potential attacks from beasts. As he moved forward, he witnessed numerous individuals battling ferocious creatures, yet he paid them no heed, continuing straight ahead. Soon, he came to a halt, for the scene before him was exceedingly peculiar. There were 3 apertures. The first bore the character for life above it. The second was inscribed with both life and death, while the third simply displayed the character for death. This left Changsheng somewhat perplexed, prompting him to murmur softly, "Life and death. Could this be the road of life and death? But what does the middle one signify? Does it imply an equal measure of both?" Changsheng furrowed his brow slightly as his cautious instincts kicked in. He refrained from advancing recklessly, choosing instead to observe meticulously, leaving no detail overlooked. During this time, several others entered the apertures as well. Yet, when he attempted to probe with his spiritual sense, he discovered a wall obstructing his perception outside the 3 openings, heightening his vigilance. Ordinarily, a path of life connotes vitality, while a path of death signifies demise. Changsheng pondered seriously, stroking his chin. Could the measures laid down by a sage truly be so simple? He could not be certain. After all, his cultivation was still somewhat inferior to that of a sage. Although he possessed means to contend with one, he preferred to avoid such confrontations unless absolutely necessary, for battle would inevitably lead to exposure and unwanted scrutiny. After an hour had passed, Changsheng finally resolved to step onto the path of life. However, he remained vigilant, wary of impending dangers. Upon entering the cavern, a straight corridor unfolded before him, dimly illuminated by oil lamps that lined its sides. Yet, this did not deter him. Changsheng immediately extended his spiritual sense and, fortunately, encountered no obstruction this time. Thus, potential threats were swiftly neutralized. As he reached the end of the corridor, he discovered that there was no further path. Ahead lay an abyss of profound nothingness, an unknown realm where life and death intertwined, shrouded in uncertainty. Something felt amiss. Suddenly, Changsheng sensed a shift and began to shake his head vigorously, scrutinizing his surroundings closely. To his astonishment, there was no corridor, no oil lamps. Everything was but an illusion. From the moment he had entered the secret realm, he had been ensnared in a delusion. Realizing this, a chill coursed down his spine. It was remarkable that he had failed to perceive it earlier. Such was the terrifying prowess of a sage. He found himself standing on a desolate island, surrounded by azure waters. The only means of escape lay in advancing forward, for there was indeed a path ahead, a solitary route. Without hesitation, Changsheng stepped into the void, moving resolutely toward the front. Suddenly, the sea began to churn, waves crashing violently as a shadow emerged from the depths, gradually growing larger. A colossal beast leapt from the ocean, its gaping maw resembling an abyss, seemingly intent on swallowing Changsheng whole. Faced with the beast's gaping maw and the foul stench emanating from it, Changsheng furrowed his brows. With a subtle motion of his hand, the spiritual energy within him surged instantaneously. A massive palm descended from the heavens, obliterating the creature on the spot, its flesh exploding and staining the sea crimson. However, this only incited the waters to become more chaotic, with waves rising higher and numerous shadows surfacing beneath the surface. Witnessing this, Changsheng's eyes narrowed, and he strode forward with the grace of a dragon and the might of a tiger. As runes of the Tao manifested, An overwhelming pressure enveloped the area, and he unleashed a powerful punch directly into the sea. With a thunderous roar, the water was nearly vaporized, and all the beasts within perished in an instant, leaving no trace of their existence. Chapter 19. Former friends so powerful. Though this was the secret realm of sages, the strength of these beasts was not formidable. The most powerful among them barely reached the divine platform realm. Having dealt with the nuisance, Changsheng promptly set forth on the path ahead. This road was lengthy, and it took the time it would take to burn a stick of incense before he finally arrived at its end. In an instant, he found himself on vast terrain, teeming with a dense throng of people. The sacred land, alongside the 7 paramount factions and numerous other forces, converged here. Changsheng immediately soared above the Qingyan sect. After careful observation, certain insights emerged. This group predominantly gravitates around Li Qingsong, attentively heeding his counsel and directives. After all, Li Qingsong possesses a mid-stage dragon transformation realm, vastly surpassing them in strength. Senior brother, it seems we are confronted with a dead end ahead, remarked a disciple of the sacred land. Indeed. Li Qingsong acknowledged with a slight nod, meticulously surveying the surroundings. Before them lay an expanse of void, with no paths available aside from the one they entered through. In contrast, the disciples of Qingyun sect exhibited a heightened vigilance, constantly scanning their environment to preempt any covert attacks, resembling individuals plagued by paranoia. What is your perspective, senior brother? Bai Xiaoxiao inquired quietly while standing beside Suemo. An assessment, Suemo articulated succinctly. Since entering the secret realm, he appeared transformed, exuding an unusual maturity and composure, displaying an unwavering tranquility amidst the chaos. Even in the presence of death, he remained unflinching, a stark contrast to the demeanor of an average 10-year-old child. This demeanor garnered the respect of the Qingyun sect disciples, who, had they faced similar circumstances at that age, might have succumbed to tears. After all, a life extinguished lay before their very eyes. Yet, they could not fathom that Sumo's past life was that of a master of the Forbidden Zone, a supreme being whose hands had claimed the lives of millions, if not billions. Bai Xiaoxiao nodded in agreement, softly adding, "This is the assessment of the secret realm, designed to filter those with potential. Only by passing the assessment can we progress further." Beside them, Lin Xiao, a direct disciple of Su Qianan, the sect leader of Qingyun, nodded in realization. "So, what you imply is that we are already within the assessment." Suemo slightly inclined his head, gesturing towards a towering pillar ahead, and spoke slowly. "That pillar is the gauge of our assessment results. The final outcomes will be conveyed to the place of inheritance." Bai Xiaoxiao continued, "There are too many of us present, causing a disarray in the assessment. However, it will soon commence, and we must remain vigilant." Upon hearing this, Lin Xiao's expression turned serious, and he signaled to the disciples behind him, harboring no doubts regarding Suemo and Bai Xiaoxiao. "Only trust." As previously mentioned, while Qingyun sect may be low-key, they are remarkably united. Changsheng observed the composed Lin Xiao with a sense of pride. The boy who once played in the mud had matured into a capable individual. He was not unfamiliar with Lin Xiao, having known him since he was taken in by Su Qianan at a young age, often accompanying his master to Yunshui Temple. Over time, their camaraderie grew, though as Lin Xiao matured, his commitments intensified, resulting in fewer visits to the temple. System, examine Lin Xiao's profile. The mere thought compelled Changsheng to check on the status of his former friend. Name, Lin Xiao. Age, 21. Talent, royal tier, superior. Realm, early stage of dragon transformation. Physique, celestial saint body. Special abilities, fortuitous luck, mutual blessings and calamities, accompanied by stars. Identity, disciple of Su Qianan, the sect leader of Qingyun sect. Upon completing his review, Changsheng couldn't help but gasp in shock. His former friend was unexpectedly powerful. Were it not for his own system, he would certainly be no match for him. Moreover, Lin Xiao possessed a royal tier, superior talent, along with a saint body. He was indeed on par with Li Qingsong from the Holy Land. However, Changsheng's expression grew peculiar when he noticed Lin Xiao's realm, which merely displayed the early stage of divine concealment. Remarkable. Another individual concealing a significant realm. Suddenly, Changsheng felt that the strongest in the eastern domain was not the Breaking Cloud sect, but rather his own, the utterly cunning Old Sixth sect. He remained oblivious to the extent of hidden talents among this group, uncertain if there were more concealed individuals lurking in the shadows. To this day, he had yet to comprehend it fully. At that moment, the pillar below suddenly shimmered with a flicker of light, and mysterious patterns glowed with a layer of blood-red energy flowing through them. Suemo became serious, stating in a low tone, "Prepare yourselves, it is coming." "All right." Lin Xiao nodded, instinctively tightening his grip on the longsword, and then exchanged glances with Suemo and Bai Xiaoxiao. He silently vowed to protect them, no matter the circumstances. For their master was his dear friend. Although he hadn't visited in a long while, he was genuinely pleased to learn that his friend had taken on 2 disciples. Being the sole occupant of Yunshui Temple was rather solitary, but thankfully, that was no longer the case. "You two stand behind me," Lin Xiao instructed as he stepped forward, his gaze resolute. However, Su Emo shook his head, saying, "There is no need. I wish to seize this opportunity to test my strength." Bai Xiaoxiao also stepped forward, chuckling. "Indeed, we cannot hide in the back and bring shame to our master." Hearing this, Lin Xiao was momentarily taken aback before shaking his head and smiling. "Very well. But you must exercise caution and not reveal too much of your strength." "Understood." In the next instant, a gentle spring breeze swept through, lifting everyone's garments and tousling their hair. A burst of light erupted forth. One after another, demonic beasts emerged from the pillar, appearing before them. The weakest among them were at the innate realm, while the strongest boasted the dragon transformation realm. There were no fewer than 1,000 demonic beasts. A chilling and bloodthirsty aura surged forth, washing over the souls of the crowd. In an instant, everyone became extremely serious, instinctively swallowing hard at the sight of their overwhelming numbers. In terms of equal realms, demonic beasts were significantly stronger than humans, often capable of combating 2 or 3 individuals at once. Although the number of demon beasts may not match that of their opponents, the inherent ferocity of the demon beasts cannot be underestimated. At this moment, Li Qingsong's expression turned grave. His gaze fixated intently on the foremost demon beast, a Qing Sha Yin lion. Chapter 20. Li Qingsong versus Qing Sha Yin lion. Indeed, it was the Qing Sha Yin lion. A wave of pressure surged within Li Qingsong's heart. The Qing Sha Yin lion is a formidable breed among demon beasts, when fully matured. It possesses the ability to shatter the constraints of the transformation dragon realm and ascend to the divine platform realm. Furthermore, it harbors the might to crush rivers and mountains, devouring the very essence of the world. Most significantly, the Qing Sha Yin lion, true to its name, wields the power to control malevolent energy and flames, a truly terrifying prospect. Even though Li Qingsong is one of the candidates for the sacred son of the Wuji Holy Land, he felt an immense weight at this moment. He was reluctant to confront the Qing Sha Yin lion, yet to progress further, he must eliminate it. The crux of the matter was that among those present, he was the only one at the transformation dragon realm. No one else was capable of facing the Qing Sha Yin lion. Drawing a deep breath, Li Qingsong's expression grew solemn as he declared, "There is no other choice. I must resort to my hidden cards. The Qing Sha Yin lion is mine to contend with. The rest is in your capable hands, my fellow friends." As soon as his words fell, Li Qingsong stepped forward, his aura intensifying. He raised his hand, and a long spear materialized within his grasp. The runes of the great Tao shimmered like stars around him, revealing his mid-stage transformation dragon realm aura in full display. In the next instant, he transformed into a streak of light, charging directly at the Qing Sha Yin lion. With his strike, the demon beast responded in kind, and an epic battle erupted forth. Many displayed astonishing prowess during this confrontation, attracting the attention of the Feng Ling sect disciples. In contrast, the Qingyun sect seemed to be lurking in the shadows, choosing to engage only with demon beasts that were merely a minor level above their own. Lin Xiao, wielding his longsword, effortlessly dispatched the demon beast before him as if slicing through vegetables. Seizing the opportunity, he surveyed the situation of the Qingyun sect disciples. Noticing they were all unharmed, he felt a sense of relief. However, when his gaze fell upon Su Mo and Bai Xiaoxiao, he was taken aback. There, he witnessed Su Mo, with the might of an iron fist, brutally dispatching a Spirit Sea Realm demon beast, its body collapsing under the force. Is the Spirit Sea Realm now this formidable? Lin Xiao could not help but exclaim. Su Mo's current display of power was merely mid-stage Spirit Sea Realm, while Bai Xiaoxiao was at late-stage Spirit Sea Realm. Yet, both exhibited extraordinary ferocity, one wielding his fists and the other a longsword, together slaying numerous demon beasts. At their feet lay a grim pile of 4 or 5 demon carcasses. In the void, Gu Changsheng observed the reactions and tactics of his disciples, and he could not help but nod slightly, a gratifying smile gracing his face as he murmured softly, Indeed, although the battle is chaotic, they have learned to conceal their cultivation. Moreover, Su Mo and Xiao Xiao have profoundly grasped the essence of our sect. It seems they have truly integrated into the Qingyun sect. Their concealment, of course, signifies that others have perished. But what of it? One can only blame oneself for lacking strength and lament the inequities of this world. In a brief span, dozens had already succumbed. Yet, the demise of the demon beasts was even swifter, with nearly 100 fallen. At this moment, the fierce clash between Li Qingsong and the Qing Sha Flame Lion had escalated to a boiling point. He sought to swiftly conclude his struggle with the Changsheng Flame Lion amidst the tumult, ensuring that his hidden cards would remain undiscovered. Humanity. This is not a domain you should tread. The Changsheng Flame Lion spoke, raising its formidable paw to strike at Li Qingsong, creating a sonic boom that reverberated through the air. Seeing this, Li Qingsong immediately stepped into the void, soaring into the air to evade the strike. Yet he witnessed the ground shatter beneath that mighty paw. He could not help but marvel at the terror of the Changsheng Flame Lion. Then I shall tread upon it, Li Qingsong declared softly, grasping his spear, stepping upon clouds, his form bathed in a myriad of luminescence. An aura of lethal intent surging forth, his spear intent akin to a vast array of silver needles piercing towards the Changsheng Flame Lion. An agonizing sensation struck, prompting the Changsheng Flame Lion to roar in fury, its feet crashing down upon the earth, causing it to collapse. Dense malevolence coalesced in its maw, unleashing a breath of malice. Upon witnessing this, Li Qingsong's expression changed dramatically. He wielded his spear, stirring the winds and clouds of the world, summoning the thunder from above. Thunder roared across the heavens. Boom! In an instant, the sound of thunder erupted, and bolts of lightning descended, sweeping away the malevolence. To be tainted by that malevolence would be exceedingly tormenting and nearly impossible to purge. One would have to endure the erosion of that darkness at every moment, risking being consumed by it, reduced to a weapon of slaughter. At this moment, Li Qingsong stood firm with his spear amid the cosmos, resembling a youthful sage, exuding a heavy sense of oppression, as waves of spear intent pierced forth, forming a domain around the Changsheng Flame Lion. Thunder descend, he intoned, and suddenly, a bolt of lightning plummeted from the firmament, making the spear, now imbued with lightning, appear even more extraordinary. Then, he advanced step by step, the symbols of the great path manifesting, as lightning and spiritual energy radiated from the spear. A glimmer of cold light pierced first. The Changsheng Flame Lion, feeling the pain, immediately unleashed its fiery wrath, combining it with malevolence to shatter the spear domain. Die, human! With that exclamation, the Changsheng Flame Lion roared, a pillar of flame descending from the heavens, infused with malevolence. Sensing the impending danger, Li Qingsong attempted to evade, but was ensnared by an aura that sealed his escape. If that is the case, then let my spear shatter legions. As he pondered over this, Li Qingsong inhaled deeply, enveloped in the thunderous might. The heavens darkened, and torrents of rain cascaded down, while the surging thunder clashed against the flames, obliterating the malevolent energy within. Subsequently, he stepped forward, wielding his spear with fervor. As the potent thunder surged forth, the lightning erupted. Boom! The ferocity of the thunder was unmistakable. A palpable aura of destruction enveloped the azure malevolent flame lion, colliding with it in an instant. Roaring in agony, the lion's eyes blazed with fury, fixating on Li Qingsong with unwavering intensity. One must admit, it was indeed a most unfortunate beast. Possessing malevolent energy, it instilled fear in many, deterring them from approaching. Yet, Li Qingsong was undeterred, for he was bolstered by the might of thunder. Malevolent energy quakes in the presence of the utmost yang, and thunder belonged to that realm. Cursed be this human. Who dares to overcome me? The azure malevolent flame lion bared its teeth, its countenance twisted in displeasure, as though its formidable abilities were rendered futile. It must come to an end. At that moment, Li Qingsong spoke, his aura surging once more, vibrant lightning flickering around him. The spear emanated an aura of annihilation. Its intent sharpened, embodying the force to pierce through multitudes. The nine heavens, thunder killing. Chapter 21. The true and false light blade, illusory and real boom. In an instant, blinding lightning erupted from the spear, causing the very firmament to shatter as thunder burst forth with astonishing swiftness. It collided with the azure malevolent flame lion, piercing through its malevolent defense in a heartbeat, impaling its entire being. Cursed, human, the lion's gaze shattered, blood spilling forth. And with a stammering utterance, it collapsed to the ground, exhaling a sigh of relief. Li Qingsong's gaze lingered on the corpse of the azure malevolent flame lion for a moment, then swept across the battlefield. Noting that the others were engaged in fierce combat and remained oblivious to his actions, which brought him considerable ease. After all, he did not wish to reveal too many of his hidden cards, for that was of paramount importance. It must be understood that he was merely one of the candidates for the Holy Sun, contending against several fierce rivals. Should his secrets fall into their ears, it would undoubtedly be a tremendous loss for him. Meanwhile, Su Mo suppressed his cultivation to the Spirit Sea realm, battling 3 beastly foes with the might of his iron fists, since concealing his true power was necessary. He found that suppressing his cultivation served the purpose of honing his skills. Suddenly, one beast swung its claws, the sound echoing through the void with lethal sharpness. Yet, Xuantian remained unfazed, delivering a powerful punch that shattered the beast's claw. Flesh erupted, blood splattering. Immediately, Xuantian unleashed another punch, obliterating the beast's body in a single blow, transforming it into a mist of blood and gore. With his formidable physique, akin to that of a divine being, he was terrifyingly powerful. Even the constitution of a true dragon might not surpass his might. Furthermore, during this period, following the activation of the heart divine abode, he had successively unlocked the liver, kidney, and lung divine abodes, augmenting his vital essence to an even more formidable level. In an instant, 3 monstrous beasts fell beneath his prowess. Meanwhile, Bai Xiaoxiao wielded her sharp sword with ease, dispatching the beasts before her as if they were mere vegetables. She too had unlocked the 4 divine abodes of heart, liver, kidney, and lung, showcasing her extraordinary strength. Soon, with concerted efforts, all the monstrous beasts were vanquished, though the human side suffered the loss of over 100 lives, leaving the ground strewn with corpses and blood flowing freely. Yet, Xuantian and Bai Xiaoxiao remained unaffected, their expressions revealing a profound indifference, with a hint of dominance in their brows. In the next moment, the carcasses of the beasts transformed into a luminescent essence, dissipating into the ether. Beneath their feet, a monumental formation manifested, and with a wave of energy, they were transported to another location. Observing this, Changsheng immediately sought their position, tearing through the void with his bare hands to step into it. Beneath the formation, they found themselves on a cliffside, with 5 ropes connecting to the opposite side. There stood another towering mountain, clearly the exit, but traversing there would necessitate the use of the ropes. Below the ropes lay a tranquil yet unfathomable lake, shrouded in mystery. Both sides emitted swathes of scorching steam, with lava glowing a fiery red, causing the temperature in the vicinity to rise. Are we to cross over using the ropes? Someone questioned, gazing at the scene before them. Is that not obvious? With molten lava on either side and an enigmatic lake below, the only path forward lies ahead, another analyzed, articulating his thoughts clearly. Many listened intently, nodding in agreement. Junior brother, what do you think? Lin Xiao approached Xuantian, whispering his inquiry. He had already discerned that Xuantian and Bai Xiaoxiao were extraordinary. Let us wait. Xuantian replied, observing the ropes and the mountains ahead. Once someone steps forth, we shall see what unfolds. Agreed, Lin Xiao nodded, signaling the disciples of Qingyun's sect to rest in place, while remaining vigilant. There was no urgency for them. They could afford to wait. Moreover, a tale circulated within the Qingyun sect about a senior who had a bitter rival. Due to insufficient strength, he could not overcome his foe. Thus, he stealthily followed his nemesis for centuries, ultimately delivering a fatal blow when his adversary was gravely injured, forever sealing his enmity. Hence, patience held no detriment. In the void, Changsheng's gaze sharpened, piercing through the lake to reveal several exceptionally ferocious beasts lurking within. Once one falls from the rope, they inevitably become prey for the demonic beasts. Soon, a few individuals could no longer bear the weight and boldly stepped onto the rope, swiftly making their way towards the distant mountains. In the blink of an eye, they had covered half the distance, their confidence soaring. However, without warning, several light blades struck with ferocious speed, catching them off guard and causing them to plummet from the rope, instantly transforming into food for the beasts below. Witnessing this scene, the crowd fell into a profound silence. Faced with both the light blades above and the beasts below, the 5 ropes proved to be far more treacherous than anticipated. Lin Xiao glanced at Xuantian and inquired, "What do you think?" Indeed, Xuantian nodded, speaking softly. The light blades are a mix of illusions and reality. As long as one remains fearless and perceives the illusions clearly, they can successfully traverse the rope. Upon hearing this, Lin Xiao raised an eyebrow, surprised to learn that there were indeed illusions. However, discerning them would not be an easy task. Even with the method revealed, he refrained from rushing forward, for such recklessness did not align with the principles of their Qingyun sect. At that moment, Bai Xiaoxiao interjected, "If someone crosses successfully, we will follow. I will inform you of the false light blades through my voice transmission." Very well. A short while later, several individuals, brimming with confidence, stepped onto the rope. Yet, just as they were about to reach the other side, one was slain by a light blade, their body cleaved in two. Not all of these light blades were real. Although the aura of the false ones was identical, their timing of activation differed, allowing for detection upon careful observation. Li Qingsong had been observing intently, and as his furrowed brow relaxed, he chuckled, "You all wait here. I shall attempt it." As soon as he spoke, he stepped forward and landed on the midpoint of the rope. In an instant, 9 light blades surged towards him, their speed leaving afterimages in the air. Yet, Li Qingsong was prepared, his gaze sharpened, effortlessly penetrating the illusion of the light blades. He advanced steadily, his spirit energy surging as he delivered a punch to the leftmost blade, shattering it instantly. Then, he swiftly evaded another light blade, employing a deft maneuver to dismantle yet another. The remaining light blades, however, seemed to pierce directly through his body. Chapter 22. The abundance bestowed by my master is beyond measure. Upon witnessing this spectacle, the crowd finally grasped the situation. After all, they were not fools. If they failed to comprehend this, they would indeed be utterly naive. Lin Xiao observed the restless crowd and pondered briefly before quietly stating, given their demeanor, they are likely unable to contain themselves. We should wait a bit longer. The reason for his caution was clear. With only 5 ropes in total, a rush would result in congestion, likely altering the number of light blades unleashed. In a throng, under the assault of the blades, their reactions might not suffice to ensure survival. For safety's sake, Lin Xiao decided to wait a little longer. The disciples of the Qingyun sect expressed no objections and readily acquiesced. As anticipated, in the next moment, dozens of individuals stepped onto the slender ropes, with others closely following behind. In an instant, the 5 delicate ropes became congested, with the distance between each person reduced to merely 3 footfalls. When someone reached the midpoint of the rope, shimmering blades of light materialized. A swift glance revealed the presence of 30 to 40 of these blades, hurtling forward with astonishing speed. The air resonated with the sound of slicing wind. Humph! Mere blades of light. I have seen through your ruse, scoffed the foremost individual, deftly evading the oncoming blades with an air of nonchalance. Though he emerged unscathed, those behind him suffered the consequences, as he obstructed their line of sight. With a sharp clang, the blades mercilessly struck down 7 or 8 individuals, their lifeless bodies feeding the beasts lurking beneath the lake. Yet, the remaining survivors were not to be underestimated. They showcased their formidable strength, shattering the blades and successfully reaching the opposing mountain range, albeit at the cost of 20 lives. At this moment, Lin Xiao, noticing the others had not acted rashly, finally spoke. Let us proceed. The disciples of the Qingyun sect promptly ascended the ropes. Suimo, Bai Xiao, and Lin Xiao each stood upon 3 distinct ropes, with the disciples behind them, while the other 2 ropes were occupied by scattered cultivators and members from other sections. Once again, as they reached the halfway point, the blades of light surged forth. The instant the blades appeared, Bai Xiao's eyes narrowed, effortlessly discerning the true from the false amongst the blades. She transmitted her findings. 3 blades on the left are illusions. 4 in the middle right are also illusions. The rest are genuine. Upon hearing this, Lin Xiao imperceptibly nodded, his aura surging instantly as he fixed his serious gaze upon the oncoming authentic blades. With a decisive shout, he unleashed his energy-wrapped fist upon the blades. The others, unwilling to lag behind, also displayed their might, shattering the remaining blades. Let us go. After completely neutralizing the threat, they hastened their pace, successfully crossing the ropes and arriving at the entrance of the mountain pass. Without a moment's hesitation, they advanced forward. Observing this, Changsheng in the void also flickered and followed closely behind, secretly monitoring their actions. After traversing through numerous corridors, they arrived at a grand hall. Yet Li Qingsong and the others were nowhere to be found. Surrounding them were countless passageways, the destinations of which remained a mystery. Witnessing this scene, Lin Xiao pondered thoughtfully, pinching his chin. If they dispersed, the likelihood of encountering danger would increase. Yet if they remained together, opportunities would be scarce. As the appointed leader for this endeavor, he bore the responsibility for each disciple's safety. Suddenly, Su Mo's expression shifted, his gaze filled with longing as he focused on a surging passage, involuntarily licking his lips in anticipation. Beside him, Bai Xiao exhibited a similar expression of yearning and greed, albeit directed towards a corridor opposite to Su Mo's gaze. This marked the first shift in their demeanor since they entered the sacred sage's secret realm. Lin Xiao, noticing their change, couldn't help but inquire, "What is troubling you?" In response, Su Mo swiftly composed himself, wiping the drool from the corner of his mouth with an impassive hand, and replied nonchalantly, "There is something over there that captivates me." Bai Xiao pointed towards a corridor in front of her, inhaled deeply, and declared, "There is something I desire within that flow." Lin Xiao glanced back and forth, promptly making a decision. "Kikik, you take half the group with you to the corridor Xiao mentioned. The other half will accompany Su Mo." Mu Kikik nodded affirmatively. "All right." "Oh, Kikik is here too." Changsheng raised an eyebrow, chuckling lightly. System, checker panel. Name, Mu Kikik. Age, 20. Talent, superior royal grade. Realm, pinnacle of divine concealment. 5 divine concealments activated. Physique, water spirit sacred body. Special abilities, mastery of instruments. Fortune and misfortune intertwined. Luck accompanies her. Identity, chief disciple of Qingyun sect's Biyun Temple. Gasp, what a remarkable individual. Another with superior royal-grade talent and a sacred body. What is happening? Gu Changsheng felt a wave of profound malice. Why were his childhood friends so formidable? Were it not for the system, he would have been left far behind. At that moment, he recalled the chief disciples from other temples, and a sense of doubt arose within him. However, aside from Lin Xiao and Mu Kekik, the others had not arrived and could not access their panels. He remembered how the 5 temple leaders often brought their chief disciples to play with him in his youth, leading to a familiarity over time. Thankfully, the system remained his final solace. Hearing Lin Xiao's arrangement, Bai Xiao shook her head repeatedly, stating, "Senior brother, there's no need. I wish to go alone." "So do I." Su Mo nodded. They were reluctant to burden their senior brothers with their own concerns, potentially hindering their fortunes. Noticing that Lin Xiao was about to say more, Su Mo promptly produced a talisman, declaring, "Rest assured, senior brother, both my sister and I possess talismans from our master. Even those in the divine platform realm may not pose a threat to us." Lin Xiao and Mu Kekik stepped forward to examine the talisman in Su Mo's hand. Their astonishment palpable. What divine platform realm? This was clearly Su Mo's conservative estimate. In their view, even those in the true self realm might not withstand an attack from such a talisman. At that moment, the two exchanged a glance, deeply shaken. When had he acquired such powerful talismans? Observing their expressions, Su Mo's eyes darted as he checked the quantity of talismans within his storage ring. Goodness, they were piled high, resembling small mountains. There were at least thousands, if not tens of thousands. Su Mo and Bai Xiao exchanged a glance, silently retrieving talismans from their storage rings, distributing them among the disciples of the Qingyun sect. "The master has provided an abundance. I cannot use them all, so you should take some for your protection." Chapter 23. Is it too late to become a disciple now? "The master has provided an abundance. I cannot use them all, so you should take some for your protection." Listen, is this how a person speaks? How ostentatious. In this moment, they could not help but wonder if the head of the Yun Shui Guan was still accepting disciples. Is it too late to become a disciple now? No need to ask. The talismans in hand were simply too enticing. They too desired that ostentation. Very well. But you must exercise caution. Lin Xiao produced 2 communication stones, placing them in the hands of Su Mo and Bai Xiao, whispering, "If anything happens, be sure to contact us promptly." The communication stones had no distance limitations, yet could not transmit messages beyond the secret realm. Understood. After accepting the communication stones, Su Mo nodded, bidding farewell as he made his way towards the corridor. "Senior brother, senior sister, farewell." Bai Xiao performed a respectful bow, flicked her ponytail, and stepped towards her designated passage. "All right." Lin Xiao clapped her hands, drawing their thoughts back, her expression turning serious. "Now, let us disperse into teams of 10 to explore this secret realm. I and junior sister Cuckoo will lead the smaller groups." In no time, the 100-member team split into 10 groups, each venturing into different passages. Observing this scene, Gu Changsheng felt a slight headache. They had scattered too widely, making it somewhat difficult to oversee. However, with talismans and communication stones in their possession, he presumed there would be no major issues. Gu Changsheng muttered to himself, then conjured a doppelganger to follow by Xiao, while he himself trailed behind Su Mo. Although it was a doppelganger, it possessed 60% of his strength, equivalent to a cultivator at the level of inquiry, formidable enough to dominate within the secret realm. Alone, Su Mo heightened his vigilance, walking cautiously through the dim corridor, his keen eyes surveying the surroundings. Numerous individuals occupied this passage, among them the strongest possessed peak capabilities of the divine concealment realm. In the blink of an eye, Su Mo exited the corridor, arriving at a grand hall. The hall was supported by 4 towering pillars, the floor adorned with crystals that sparkled with ethereal light. The walls were etched with various murals, and an array of greenery was arranged around. At the rear of the hall lay a garden, bursting with a profusion of flowers, a refreshing fragrance wafting through the air, invigorating the senses. Without a moment's hesitation, Su Mo followed his instincts, making his way to the garden. Inside, 15 individuals were meticulously examining every corner of the garden, seemingly searching for hidden mechanisms. The hall and garden could not exist without reason. Their presence surely served a significant purpose. Paying them no mind, Su Mo approached a large tree in the distance, crouching down to caress its trunk. In the next moment, he raised an eyebrow and pressed down on a piece of tree bark. Instantly, the ground beneath his feet gave way, and he plummeted into a hidden chamber. What? There exists a concealed chamber here? In the garden, several onlookers witnessed Su Mo activate the mechanism of the hidden chamber and subsequently fall into it. With a startled exclamation, the rest rushed over, encircling the grand tree. Unfortunately, despite their relentless pressing and searching, They could not trigger the mechanism to unveil the hidden chamber. Within the dark chamber, Xuantian continued his descent. Should he fall to the ground unimpeded, he was bound to endure a jarring impact. After all, this height was considerable, at least 1,000 meters. Suddenly, Xuantian's eyes glimmered. A surge of spiritual energy coursed through his palm as he extended it downward, releasing a wave of energy that reverberated. Utilizing this, he approached the wall, gently stepping upon it before leaping to the opposite side. Alternating between jumps and using his spiritual energy to rub against the wall, he effectively slowed his descent and landed safely on the ground. Since awakening his prison god body, his spiritual energy had become remarkably robust. Moreover, he had achieved perfect foundational cultivation, rendering his internal spiritual seat several times larger than that of an ordinary individual. The foundational realm is categorized into 9 stages, with the 10th stage representing perfect cultivation. It establishes a solid groundwork. With a sigh of relief upon landing steadily, Xuantian felt his longing and insatiable desire intensify. Although the hidden chamber was illuminated by an oil lamp, it remained somewhat dim. However, this had little impact on Xuantian. He concentrated his spiritual energy in his eyes, instantly brightening the shadowy space. Following his instincts, he soon discovered a pool ahead, its surface shimmering with a deep crimson hue. A wave of sanguine scent assailed his senses. Upon discerning its source, Xuantian's eyes widened in astonishment, and his breath quickened. It was indeed the blood essence of a true dragon. The true dragon is among the most fearsome beings in the realm of mythical creatures. Few can rival the might of a true dragon. Its corporeal form rivals the very heavens, the sun, the moon, and the stars. Its claws can rend the fabric of existence. Its maw can unleash breaths that pierce the vast cosmos. One could assert that the true dragon tribe is a treasure trove of wonders. Yet, their overwhelming power renders them seldom hunted, making their blood essence exceedingly rare. To his amazement, he had stumbled upon blood imbued with the essence of a true dragon. Xuantian licked his lips in hunger, his eyes wide with anticipation. If one were to speak of the best substance for tempering the body, it would undoubtedly be the blood essence of a true dragon, especially the pure essence. Its efficacy far surpasses that of ordinary refining methods. No wonder an overpowering sense of greed surged within him. However, rather than immediately immersing himself, he scanned his surroundings for potential threats. Satisfied that no danger lurked nearby, he retrieved a talisman and affixed it 3 measures away from the blood pool, encircling it with an entire perimeter of talismans. This precaution was to prevent any interruptions or ambushes while he refined the true dragon blood essence. After all, he was alone, without companions, and needed to exercise utmost caution. Having completed this, he finally leaped into the blood pool, which submerged him to his chest. He then closed his eyes, channeling the prison god's scripture within him, and began to refine the dragon's blood essence, incessantly tempering his flesh. Simultaneously, he absorbed the essence of the vital energy to cultivate. This lad is indeed fortunate. Changsheng silently clicked his tongue, acknowledging that such luck is truly unparalleled. He had stumbled upon an opportunity that perfectly suited him upon entering. After all, Xuantian possessed the divine body of the prison suppressor, naturally destined to embark on the path of physical refinement. And the blood of the true dragon is undoubtedly the finest. Turning to another scene, Xuantian traversed through a grand hall and, through a concealed mechanism, arrived at a hidden chamber. The chamber radiated an unusual brightness, and at its end, she beheld a raised platform in the center. Upon this platform rested a meditation mat, accompanied by a faint glow cascading downwards. Seeing this spectacle, Xuantian inhaled deeply, a hint of astonishment flashing in her eyes. She was no stranger to this gentle luminescence. This is the essence of the moon, or perhaps the power of the stars. To think that within the sacred saint's realm, there exists the power of the stars. This was the source of Xuantian's astonishment. As time progressed, the memories buried within her mind began to awaken slowly, albeit at a leisurely pace. Yet, she became aware of certain matters and expanded her horizons. The essence of the moon intertwined with the power of the stars is an exceedingly arduous task, fraught with complexity. Not only must one possess the essence of the moon, but they must also blend the power of the stars without conflict. Otherwise, failure would entail the risk of downfall. Even a sage capable of transcending the heavens and plucking the stars would find this feat daunting. However, should one succeed, they would undoubtedly rank among the elite, even among sages. It seems I have underestimated this Yunxiao sage. Xuantian narrowed her eyes, yet her expression remained remarkably composed. Since the awakening of her memories, she had undergone subtle changes, her mindset now extraordinarily stable. According to her recollections, a sage? They were merely beings that could be effortlessly extinguished. Subsequently, following Sumo's actions, by Xiao Xiao adorned the area around the platform, where the essence of the moon descended. With talismans. After completing this, she sat cross-legged on the meditation mat, channeling the Ziwei Emperor's art to absorb the essence of the moon and the power of the stars. Unbeknownst to her, the moment she settled and began to cultivate the Ziwei Emperor's art, the Ziwei Emperor's star in the vast cosmos flickered slightly. Immediately, a wisp of essence surged forth from the Ziwei Emperor's star, traversing the layers of the starry realms, crossing the sacred saint's realm, and descending upon by Xiao Xiao. Witnessing this scene, Gu Changsheng's eyes widened, his mouth agape as waves of astonishment surged within him. Is this even possible? Are you cheating? At that moment, the original essence of the moon and the power of the stars dissipated, replaced seamlessly by the power of the Ziwei Emperor's star, perfectly harmonizing with by Xiao Xiao. System. Could we perhaps discuss accelerating my progress? Gu Changsheng lamented inwardly, communicating with the system. There was no other option. Both of his disciples were far too extraordinary. One had discovered the true dragon blood pool for cultivation, while another directly employed the Ziwei Emperor's star for training. Neither path was simple. If this continued, it would only be a matter of time before he was surpassed, and at that moment, his dignity as a master would be lost. A response was received, the system crackling with electric sounds. Upon hearing the reply, Gu Changsheng let out a sigh of relief. Meanwhile, Lin Xiu was not as fortunate. He had unwittingly entered the territory of the demonic beasts, finding himself surrounded by at least 15 of them, while they numbered only 9. Although they were outnumbered, the reassuring aspect was that most of these beasts were at the initial stages of the Spirit Sea and Divine Concealment realms, with the strongest being merely at the peak of the Divine Concealment realm. Lin Xiu cautiously stepped back, his eyes swiftly scanning the 15 beasts, and then communicated telepathically, "Leave the beasts at the late Divine Concealment stage and above to me. You all handle the rest." Is that clear? There were 3 beasts at the late Divine Concealment stage, the others were below that threshold. With his prowess at the Dragon Transformation stage, he could certainly take down all 15 beasts alone, yet he chose to delegate the remaining foes to his junior disciples. After all, as members of the Xuantian sect, he found it hard to believe their abilities were as simplistic as they appeared. Moreover, overly shielding them would not serve their growth well. No problem. His fellow disciples chorused in unison. Good. With that, Lin Xiu immediately grasped a long sword, planting his feet firmly on the ground, and propelled himself towards the 3 late Divine Concealment beasts. In an instant, his disciples surged forward as well. Humans, trespassing in our territory, shall perish. The extreme cold leopard bared its long fangs, emanating an aura of peak Divine Concealment. Nearby, the phoenix thunder eagle spread its wings, its piercing cries blending with the aura of late Divine Concealment. The Xianlight wind horse moved with agility, exhaling a breath of white mist, also radiating the energy of late Divine Concealment. The 3 formidable beasts surrounded Lin Xiu. Undeterred, he maintained his composure, eyes darting rapidly across the trio. Suddenly, he noticed a paw movement from the extreme cold leopard. Acting swiftly, he crouched low and struck first, slashing down with his sword, unleashing a wave of sword energy that pushed the extreme cold leopard back several steps. At the same moment, the phoenix thunder eagle dove down, crackling with lightning, its sharp beak entwined with a gust of wind, descending at breakneck speed. Flames ignited across its body, intensified by the wind's caress. The Xianlight wind horse charged in as well, its formidable presence stirring up a fierce wind, barreling through with reckless abandon. With no retreat available, Lin Xiu gripped his long sword tightly, channeling spiritual energy through his arm into the blade, which then erupted in a radiant glow, a faint sword intent emanating from it. Stunning swan. In an instant, he struck down, cleaving the void with a graceful arc. Within that arc, a surge of sword energy erupted, darting swiftly towards the phoenix thunder eagle. Immediately, Lin Xiu made a swift turn and executed a powerful upward strike with his sword, precisely cleaving the chin of the Xian Guang wind horse. However, the sheer force of his attack caused him to be propelled backward, leaving long marks on the ground beneath his feet. Yet, the Xian Guang wind horse succumbed instantly. Blood gushed forth from its severed jaw. Damn humans! Upon witnessing the fall of its companion, the extreme cold leopard was filled with uncontrollable rage, its body shimmering with icy light as snowflakes cascaded from the heavens. A thick wave of chill emanated from beneath its paws, rapidly spreading into the distance. Even Lin Xiu felt a shiver run through him, though the infusion of spiritual energy mitigated the cold's bite. In the next moment, the extreme cold leopard's throat convulsed, and it opened its mouth wide, unleashing a surge of snow-colored radiance, which transformed into a laser-like attack. Sword strikes with the whisper of the wind. Fortunately, Lin Xiu remained ever vigilant and was well prepared. He unleashed his sword technique in response to the gentle breeze, the sword energy surging forth with renewed speed and might. The sword energy collided with the laser-like beam. Boom. A tremendous explosion echoed as the sword energy obliterated the laser, the powerful shockwave forcing the extreme cold leopard to stagger back a step. Without hesitation, Lin Xiao soared through the air, drawing his sword with blinding speed to deliver a decisive blow. In a flash, the body of the extreme cold leopard was severed in two. Of the three formidable beasts, only the foam-lay eagle remained. Lin Xiao then took to the skies once more, relentlessly pursuing the foam-lay eagle, ultimately vanquishing it with a single stroke of his sword. Thus, all three beasts lay slain. Exhaling deeply upon landing, Lin Xiao turned to his junior disciples, observing that they too had unleashed formidable powers. Their displayed levels of prowess starkly contrasted with their apparent cultivation. As expected, they had concealed their true capabilities. Lin Xiao felt no surprise, though he couldn't help but smirk slightly. Ever since he had cultivated the breath-holding technique, he had been unable to discern the true levels of others. Although he was the chief disciple of the Qingyun sect, that was merely superficial. Who could say if there were others stronger than him lurking in the shadows? Chapter 25. The losses were too great. Soon enough, all 15 beasts lay dead. There were no casualties among the Qingyun sect members. Instead, they engaged in lively discussion afterward. You sly dog, you've clearly been hiding your strength. I knew you couldn't have gone from the early stage of the divine concealment realm to the peak of the spiritual sea realm in just 6 months. And who are you to speak? Didn't you also advance from the mid-stage of the divine concealment realm to the late stage of the spiritual sea realm? TSK. You are all so disingenuous. You are the one who concealed your abilities the most, yet you dare to criticize us? Listening to the incessant chatter, Lin Xiao couldn't help but twitch his lips. None of you are in a position to point fingers. You're all just as cunning. While a person's cultivation should rise, you lot seem to have stagnated or even regressed. What a spectacle. All right, this is the domain of the beasts. We must exercise extreme caution to avoid encountering any formidable creatures. Lin Xiao admonished, his tone grave. Understood. Absolutely. The junior disciples promptly ceased their discussions, indicating that Lin Xiao held a certain status in their hearts. Meanwhile, upon realizing that Su Mo and Bai Xiao were unharmed, Gu Changsheng left behind 2 avatars while his main body ventured forth to explore the vast secret realm. After all, waiting for their emergence had grown rather tedious. Coupled with his formidable prowess, which allowed him to dominate this clandestine domain, it was imperative that he embarked on a journey of discovery. As he traversed through grand halls, he ultimately arrived at a desolate expanse. Before him lay an endless stretch of golden desert, interspersed with barren mountains, devoid of any oasis. Gu Changsheng meandered through the arid landscape, murmuring softly, "How vast is this secret realm? Why, after wandering for so long, do I see no end?" Without digressing, he had journeyed for several hours, overcoming numerous formations, only to find himself in this seemingly infinite wasteland. This alone suggested the enormity of the Saint's secret realm. Moreover, within a radius of 100,000 miles, there was not a soul in sight. Suddenly, the earth trembled violently, and countless grains of sand swirled in the air. In an instant, the distant barren mountains collapsed. Following this, numerous fissures appeared in the ground, revealing bottomless abysses. A tempest howled past, mountains and rivers crumbled. The sun and moon reversed, and the very laws of nature fell into disarray. What on earth was happening? Gu Changsheng immediately stood suspended in the void, surveying the unfolding chaos, his brow furrowing in concern. Just moments ago, all had been well, and now everything had changed. He found this place increasingly inscrutable. In the next instant, a radiant aurora manifested from the heavens, revealing within it oases, spiritual fields, magical artifacts, elixirs, and more. Ultimately, amidst the brilliance, a magnificent hall emerged, suffused with ethereal energy, depicting landscapes that seemed to float between heaven and earth. Etched upon this hall were 4 grand characters. Yunxiao's Sacred Hall. Undoubtedly, this hall marked the site of the Saint Yunxiao's demise, and it was also the locus of his legacy. Gu Changsheng narrowed his eyes and murmured, "Could it be that I must enter the aurora?" With this thought, he grasped a small stone and hurled it towards the radiance. However, the moment the stone touched the aurora, it disintegrated into dust, scattering in the wind. Seemingly displeased with Gu Changsheng's probe, a vibrant oasis materialized directly from the aurora. What was once a golden desert had transformed into a verdant paradise. It became clear that the manifestation occurred through reflection. Gu Changsheng realized this. Yet after the oasis appeared, the aurora fell silent. Contemplating his next move, Gu Changsheng surmised that perhaps time or numbers were needed, though he leaned more towards the former. Nevertheless, the aurora persisted. With the oasis now manifest, it would be remiss not to investigate further. Changsheng's feet stirred slightly, and like a gentle spring breeze, he vanished into the ether. Within the vast oasis, Changsheng materialized, inhaling the fresh air that invigorated his senses. Surveying the entire oasis, he noted the presence of 3 or 4 rivers, flourishing vegetation, and the occasional movement of mystical beasts. Moreover, the majority of their strengths are formidable, with most possessing capabilities at the late stage of the divine concealment realm and even reaching the pinnacle of the dragon transformation realm. Upon realizing this, Changsheng could not help but furrow his brow, for the strongest among them, Li Qingsong, merely stood at the initial phase of the dragon transformation realm. Although he could unleash power that surpassed his own realm, the demonic beasts were equally formidable. In terms of comparable realms, they were generally superior to the human race. This posed a troubling predicament for them. However, as he pondered further, he discerned that there seemed to be no significant issue. After all, they were within a secret realm. The secret realm teems with opportunities, and perhaps they could seize this chance to enhance their own strength. This line of thought indeed reflected the lofty ideals of the Yunjiao sage. Immediately, Changsheng caught sight of a sharp triangle in his peripheral vision, prompting him to approach. To his astonishment, he discovered a grand hall, albeit in a state of closure. This intrigued Changsheng, leading him to halt at the entrance. With a resonating hum, the doors gradually swung open, allowing him to step inside, whereupon the doors closed behind him. At that moment, Changsheng found himself standing upon a crystalline surface. Casting his gaze around the surroundings, the emptiness rendered the hall particularly spacious. Suddenly, a beam of light descended from above, unleashing waves of force that reverberated throughout the entire hall, filling it with an intense aura. Following this, numerous demonic beasts materialized, among which 5 were at the dragon transformation realm. Yet for Changsheng, this was scarcely a challenge. This was not due to arrogance, but rather because his realm far surpassed that of the dragon transformation. With a single step forward, he concentrated his energy, creating an oppressive atmosphere. While thunder rumbled in the sky, in an instant, he obliterated all the demonic beasts. Subsequently, a formation emerged within the beam of light. A teleportation array, perhaps? Observing this, Changsheng narrowed his eyes and stepped into the array with measured strides. With a whoosh, he was transported to the second layer. Surrounding him were the Pill Pavilion, Spirit Artifact Hall, and Martial Arts Hall, akin to a reward for passing through the first layer. After a moment of contemplation, Changsheng entered the Spirit Artifact Hall. For over the years of signing in, he had amassed numerous medicinal pills, likely enough to fill the entire Yunshui view. Conversely, the rewards in spirit artifacts seemed somewhat scant. Thus far, he had yet to provide his 2 disciples with spirit artifacts. As for martial arts, he had an abundance, far more than he could utilize. Inside the Spirit Artifact Hall, cobwebs were strewn about, and the walls bore cracks. With each step, dust billowed into the air. Upon closer inspection, spirit artifacts were arranged in neat rows, with the foremost being of the yellow grade, followed by the Xian, Earth, and Heaven grades. Ah, this visit was indeed worthwhile. Changsheng grinned, hastening forward, and carelessly picked up a spirit artifact to wave it about. Yet, in the next moment, he stood frozen in place. To his astonishment, the Heaven grade spirit artifact disintegrated into dust in an instant. By heavens, he immediately retracted his earlier thoughts, cursing inwardly, lamenting that he had been too naive. Chapter 26. Was it so easily dismantled by you? Unyielding, he once again grasped the celestial grade spiritual artifact. With a mere flick, the artifact disintegrated into dust. Damn! Changsheng cursed under his breath. Infuriated, he unleashed a wave of pressure that obliterated the remaining artifacts. Turning on his heel, he re-entered the Pill Pavilion, only to find it devoid of anything but dust. Not a single elixir remained. His countenance darkened, and without uttering a word, he departed and ventured into the Martial Arts Hall. Fortunately, a few tomes of martial arts still lingered within, though not abundant. They signified that his efforts had not been in vain. Thus, Changsheng approached and picked up one of the manuals. A celestial grade technique titled 9 Transformations of the Mysterious Heaven. Not bad, he thought. In his eyes, a celestial grade technique merited at least a commendation of decent. After all, his mental state remained undisturbed by the celestial grade technique, as he possessed numerous martial arts, most of which began at the celestial level, with a plethora of sacred techniques as well. Nevertheless, he began to peruse the pages. The 9 transformations of the mysterious heaven promised a 1-fold enhancement of strength in its first transformation, albeit at the cost of substantial stamina. The second transformation doubled one's strength, with a corresponding doubling of stamina expenditure, and so forth. To put it simply, it was a technique that offered a temporary boost to one's prowess, which was quite commendable. Moreover, as one advanced through the transformations, the stamina consumed would gradually diminish. Such an extraordinary technique was indeed impressive. Gu Changsheng's eyes sparkled as he promptly stored the 9 transformations of the mysterious heaven in his system space. In his estimation, the ability to temporarily exchange for 9-fold strength was a remarkable boon. Celestial grade? He felt he had underestimated this technique. He then turned his attention to the second manual. The celestial grade technique Wind Without Trace was a mobility skill that, when perfected, allowed one to move with the wind, leaving no trace behind. Quite commendable, he thought, accepting it. The third manual, however, was a spiritual grade technique titled Mountain River Seal, albeit a fragmented one. Even so, it was still a spiritual grade technique. Originally a sacred grade technique. It had been downgraded to spiritual grade? Gu Changsheng blinked, his eyes filled with confusion. What an absurd situation. How could a perfectly good sacred grade technique be so dismantled? Gu Changsheng was at a loss for words. Although he had only acquired 3 manuals, they still constituted a worthwhile gain. System. Learn the 9 transformations of the mysterious Heaven and Mountain River Seal, Gu Changsheng instructed calmly. Acknowledged. Moments later, the system spoke again. The 9 transformations of the mysterious Heaven and Mountain River Seal have been successfully learned. An exhilarating shiver coursed through Gu Changsheng, bringing him immense satisfaction. Having thoroughly explored the second level, he found no further discoveries aside from the 3 manuals. Thus, he made his way to the third level. The space of the third level was considerably smaller than that of the second, and it was quite barren, lacking any structures. Resembling a grand hall. Suddenly, a ripple emanated, and a phantom slowly materialized, exuding an aura resonant with the dragon transformation realm. As soon as his body solidified, he lunged towards Gu Changsheng with lethal intent. Observing this, Gu Changsheng made a swift motion, unleashing a blade of wind that swiftly vanquished the ethereal figure in an instant. The figure disintegrated into a radiant orb, which flew into his grasp. As the brilliance faded, Gu Changsheng focused his gaze and discerned a waste token inscribed with the character for cloud. Narrowing his eyes, he speculated quietly. Could this possibly be the key to accessing the celestial pavilion? However, with scant clues at his disposal, he remained uncertain of the token's purpose and thus decided to stow it away in the system space. Immediately, he gestured with his palm, tearing the void asunder and stepping into it, departing from the grand hall. Within the depths of the celestial pavilion, amidst the auroras, a shadow observed everything before it. Whether it was Gu Changsheng or any others, they all fell under its watchful gaze. Soon, very soon, its existence remained unknown to all. Meanwhile, others fervently sought opportunities to enhance their strength. Li Qingsong was also in a grand hall, diligently cultivating after seizing an opportunity. In a fleeting moment, the number of explorers within the secret realm dwindled drastically. Many had discovered various fortunes, seizing the time to cultivate and elevate their prowess. Only by strengthening themselves could they better seize opportunities in the future. 3 days passed in succession. In a dim chamber, Suemo slowly opened his eyes, a surge of aura emanating from him, causing ripples in the blood pool. He had reached the early stage of the dragon transformation realm. The blood pool contained limited essence, and since he also needed to refine his physique, he could only accumulate his cultivation to the dragon transformation realm. Yet, his physical strength had elevated by 2 tiers. Even when battling with a peak divine platform beast, he could hold his ground through sheer physical might. Upon unlocking his physique, he could even contend with those in the true self realm. It could be said that the gains from this seclusion were immensely substantial. At this moment, the blood pool had lost its efficacy. Suemo utilized his spiritual power to evaporate the dampness from his robes before retrieving his talisman and exiting the dim chamber. Meanwhile, Bai Xiaoxiao also opened her eyes, exuding an aura that unmistakably radiated from the late stage of the dragon transformation realm, surpassing Suemo in cultivation. This was to be expected, as Suemo primarily focused on refining his physique, with cultivation as a secondary concern, while she prioritized enhancing her cultivation, with body refinement as a secondary pursuit. With a sigh of relief, Bai Xiaoxiao felt the imperial energy of the Ziwei dissipate at that moment. Gradually, she rose to her feet, the sounds of cracking bones echoing within her, her entire being feeling invigorated. In the next moment, she stowed her talisman and departed the dim chamber. At this juncture, many individuals emerged from their seclusion, making their way towards the desolate expanse. Shortly thereafter, Suemo and Bai Xiaoxiao reunited. It seems you have made significant progress as well, Suemo remarked, surveying Bai Xiaoxiao with a glint of surprise in his eyes. Though he did not dwell on it. After all, within the secret realm, everyone had the potential to acquire opportunities. It was not solely his privilege. You too. Senior brother. Bai Xiaoxiao giggled, her beautiful eyes sparkling with astonishment. Your vitality is truly comparable to that of the dragon clan. Ordinary beasts cannot even begin to compare. Let us seek out Brother Lin and the others, suggested Suemo. All right, came the reply. Without delay, Mo produced a communication stone and inquired, Brother Lin, where are you? After a brief moment, Lin Xiu's voice resonated from the stone. We are, well, I am uncertain of our exact location. However, I shall transmit the coordinates to you. You can find us based on that. Sounds good. Soon after, the coordinates appeared on the communication stone, accompanied by a small arrow indicating the direction. The communication stone served not merely for communication, but also for transmitting coordinates and other functionalities. Sister Bai and I will arrive shortly, Mo assured. We will await your arrival, Lin Xiu responded. Following the guidance of the communication stone, Mo and Bai Xiaoxiao set forth. Chapter 27. Have you unleashed the divine perspective? Before long, Mo and Bai Xiaoxiao reunited with Lin Xiu and the larger group. Upon noticing the rosy complexion and radiant smiles of the two, Lin Xiu couldn't help but smile knowingly and remarked, It appears that your journey has been quite fruitful. Mo chuckled heartily. It was satisfactory. Bai Xiaoxiao giggled, Brother Lin. Have we determined our next course of action? Indeed, we have, Lin Xiu nodded, gesturing toward a direction. Just moments ago, there were tremors from that vicinity. And we have scouted the surrounding paths, all of which lead to dead ends. Thus, we have no choice but to proceed this way. A dead end? Mo raised an eyebrow. In that case, let us hasten to investigate. I have yet to encounter a sage. At this, Lin Xiu chuckled, unable to resist ruffling Mo's hair, softly saying, You may not catch sight of a sage, but the remains should be visible. As for the ultimate sage's legacy, it remains uncertain whose hands it will ultimately fall into. Mu Kiki smiled gently. Very well, let us be on our way. Many have already set off. Then let us depart. Approximately 2 hours later, they arrived at a desolate expanse, with golden sands exuding a sense of oppression. As night had fallen, a full moon hung high in the sky, casting a rich luminescence that bathed the entire desert, allowing everyone to bask in the moonlight. Lin Xiu surveyed the surroundings, finding no signs of life, and after a moment of contemplation, he spoke, Let us rest here for the night and proceed at dawn. Furthermore, we shall divide into 3 teams to maintain a watch, to guard against any potential dangers. This precaution was prudent, for they were in the sage's secret realm, and the night could harbor unforeseen perils. Camping in place might indeed be the wisest choice. In addition, the rotating watch would ensure that any threats could be promptly addressed. Lin Xiu swiftly scanned his disciples and declared, I and junior brother Jintian will take the first watch. Mu Kiki stepped forward, saying, Then junior sister Yunru and I will stand guard for the latter half of the night. Soon after, Mo and Bai Xiaoxiao exchanged glances and promptly stood up, declaring, Then we shall keep watch during the early morning. Very well, Lin Xiu nodded in agreement. After all, by dawn, most would be awake, and there would be little need for guarding. Once the decision was made, everyone quickly retrieved their beds and blankets from their storage rings and spread them out on the desert floor, hastily settling down to sleep. Lin Xiu and Jin Tian kindled a fire, vigilantly observing their surroundings. At that moment, Changsheng returned, promptly retracting his avatar. This was indeed a cautious approach. He felt a flicker of satisfaction with Lin Xiu's actions. Moving at night within the secret realm was fraught with peril. Over the past 3 days, he had traversed much of the desert. During the day, venomous scorpions would suddenly emerge, launching swift ambushes on those traversing the sands. Aside from the venomous scorpions, there were no other beasts to contend with. However, once night fell, it could be said that all manner of beasts roamed freely, with many appearing one by one. And even the venomous scorpions would merely become prey among them. In this desert, night was the most treacherous time. It was likely they would not sleep soundly tonight. Changsheng narrowed his eyes. Beneath their feet, numerous beasts lay concealed. Among them, the strongest had reached the late stage of the dragon transformation realm, qualifying it as the king of this territory. As Changsheng hesitated over whether to disrupt the beast's senses, he suddenly overheard Lin Xiu and Jin Tian conversing. Senior brother, do you feel a suffocating aura emanating from this desert? Jin Tian glanced at the sleeping companions and whispered, Indeed, I sense it, Lin Xiu replied with a slight nod, picking up a handful of gravel. It is not just me. They must feel it as well. However, this is a secret realm left by a sage, incomparable to ordinary realms. We cannot ascertain whether there are hidden dangers beneath this desert. Changsheng was taken aback by this statement. It left him bewildered. Have you truly gained a godlike perspective? Jin Tian, equally astonished, lowered his gaze, then looked at the slumbering companions and quietly asked, Does this not render us excessively vulnerable? Perhaps, Lin Xiu's eyes lowered as he spoke slowly. But we cannot be certain of what lies ahead. If danger arises, we shall awaken them. After all, peril and opportunity coexist, and we cannot expect a smooth journey. Otherwise, our training would be rendered ineffective. Upon hearing this, Changsheng withdrew his hand. Although he could eliminate the dangers for them, he could not shield them indefinitely. Experiencing peril was a form of growth. Having reached this conclusion, Changsheng chose not to interfere with the beast's awareness, though he would intervene in life-threatening situations. In the blink of an eye, 2 hours had passed. The fire crackled, illuminating the surroundings, and one could faintly discern the golden sands exhibiting subtle, rhythmic movements. At this moment, Xuantian and Bai Xiao awakened, exchanging a meaningful glance before nodding in unison. They hastened towards Lin Xiao and Jin Tian. "What is it?" Lin Xiao inquired, noticing the gravity etched upon their faces. Bai Xiao inhaled deeply and replied solemnly, "Senior brother, there are demonic beasts stirring beneath the earth, and their numbers are not insignificant." Xuantian added, "The fluctuations they emit are exceedingly subtle. If you focus, you should be able to perceive them." Lin Xiao immediately furrowed his brow, his expression shifting to one of seriousness. After a brief moment of sensing, he bellowed, "Danger approaches. Everyone awaken." Instantly, the group sprang to consciousness, swiftly stowing away their beds and linens into their storage rings, readying themselves with remarkable speed. In the next instant, a multitude of demonic beasts erupted from the desert, encircling them with predatory gazes. A total of 40 beasts emerged, among which the most formidable was the desert dark serpent, at the peak of the transformation realm, followed closely by the desert earth dragon, at the initial stage of the same realm. Xuantian articulated the situation regarding the beasts and promptly identified his opponent. The desert earth dragon. Though it was termed the desert earth dragon, it was essentially a bizarre fusion of lizard and worm. Its limbs resembled those of a lizard, while its body was akin to that of a worm, capable of flexible contraction. Its head bore a grotesque amalgamation, yet it was equipped with vicious fangs. "Senior brother Lin." Suddenly, the voices of Xuantian and Bai Xiao resonated simultaneously. They exchanged a glance, momentarily taken aback, before breaking into smiles. It seemed they had both chosen their adversaries. "What is it?" Lin Xiao, sword in hand, vigilantly scanned the surrounding beasts. "Senior brother Lin, there are no others nearby." "Are there?" Xuantian interlaced his fingers, gently stretching his limbs, a faint smile gracing his lips as he said, "Then allow me to handle this desert earth dragon." Bai Xiao, stretching lazily and stepping forward, remarked, "As for the desert dark serpent, do not contest with me, go hunt the other beasts." Lin Xiao, "You too, at the late stage of the divine concealment realm, wish to challenge beasts of the initial and peak stages of the transformation realm? Wait, they are from the Qingyan sect. This implies they must possess hidden strengths, especially since they are disciples of the ultimate master, Changsheng. They surely harbor even greater secrets." Having suffered considerable setbacks due to their childhood camaraderie, Lin Xiao contemplated for a moment before nodding in agreement. "All right, but be cautious and do not act recklessly." Xuantian acknowledged, then gradually approached the desert earth dragon, his choice stemming from specific reasoning rather than opting for the desert dark serpent. The desert earth dragon is a peculiar beast born from the amalgamation of two distinct creatures, possessing a physical prowess that surpasses that of ordinary monsters. In fact, one might argue that the desert earth dragon is even more formidable than the desert underworld serpent, with its sheer physical strength. The desert underworld serpent is incapable of breaching its defenses. Moreover, the desert earth dragon boasts an exceptionally terrifying biting force. At this moment, Xuantian displayed a sincerely warm smile, having just augmented his physical form when he encountered this formidable beast. For reasons unknown, the desert earth dragon sensed a chill and involuntarily shuddered. However, upon realizing that its opponent was a late-stage human cultivator of the divine concealment realm, its confidence surged. With a resounding command, the battle erupted instantly. Xuantian stood atop the void, his right hand clenched into a fist, and his internal spiritual power surged to its zenith in an instant. He then unleashed a tremendous force, striking the desert earth dragon with a powerful punch. Bang! In that fleeting moment, the desert earth dragon was sent staggering back several dozen meters, its limbs carving long furrows in the desert sands. "Curse that human!" The desert earth dragon roared in fury, its forked tongue flicking out and retracting rapidly, a chilling aura emanating from it. Its scales seemed to come alive, subtly undulating as if they were breathing. Suddenly, the dragon's eyes transformed into slits, its limbs exerting tremendous force, causing the ground to shatter, and the clouds in the sky to burst apart in an instant. Sensing the atmospheric shift, Xuantian glanced upward and gasped in astonishment. A colossal foot coalesced above him, descending to shatter the heavens, a terrifying aura flowing forth that sought to suppress him. Yet, Xuantian's expression remained unchanged, calm as ever. As the foot slowly descended, he did not retreat. Instead, he stepped boldly into the void, meeting it head-on. With the might of his punch, he shattered the enormous foot. "What?" The desert earth dragon's eyes widened in shock at this sight. It was well aware of its own physical supremacy, having carved out vast territories in this region. Not even the most powerful desert underworld serpent could breach its defenses. This human possesses such formidable physical strength. A flicker of apprehension crossed the dragon's gaze. Its physical prowess had always been its greatest asset, yet now it felt a profound threat from this very strength. What are you daydreaming about? Suddenly, Sumo's voice echoed in its ear, startling the dragon. It hastily turned to look, only to find that it could not move its head. For Sumo's heavy fist had struck its face, sending it flying once more. Hiss! The power of Sumo, the junior brother, is truly terrifying. Lin Xiu caught sight of this scene by chance and could not help but be astounded, drawing in a sharp breath. In the next moment, Sumo's legs bent slightly as he forcefully propelled himself into the void, his fist aglow with radiant luminescence. Die human, the desert earth dragon, in pain and filled with rage, compressed the energy within its throat, unleashing a breath of power. Whoosh! A powerful breath surged forth, piercing through the entire void. Yet, Sumo remained unfazed, employing formidable techniques to dissipate the aura emitted by the desert dragon entirely. Subsequently, his speed surged once more, transforming into a streak of light that, in an instant, pierced through the very body of the desert dragon. How is this possible? A torrent of blood gushed forth, and the desert dragon's eyes glazed over, falling lifelessly to the ground. Sumo clenched his fist and remarked nonchalantly, "Not bad." Suddenly, a resounding cry echoed. Bai Xiaoxiao materialized a spirit sword with her spiritual energy, engaging in a fierce battle with the desert nether serpent. Whoosh! A sound of slicing air resonated as the desert nether serpent swung its colossal tail, cleaving through the atmosphere itself. Observing this, Bai Xiaoxiao's expression shifted slightly. Her grip on the spirit sword tightened, and a fierce sword intent swept forth, severing the tail of the desert nether serpent in an instant. Hiss! The desert nether serpent let out a pained roar, its slit pupils blazing with fury as it soared into the air, unleashing a surge of spiritual energy that shook the very sands of the desert. A massive phantom gradually emerged, casting its reflection upon the moonlit sky, exuding an overwhelming aura that suppressed all in its vicinity. Die! It spat coldly, and immediately, the colossal phantom transformed into countless beams of light, descending like a torrential downpour. Witnessing this spectacle, a chill flickered in Bai Xiaoxiao's eyes as she unleashed a formidable sword intent, creating a sword domain around her, while her spirit sword extended in an instant. Flash! With a swift motion of her arm, the spirit sword traced an arc through the void. The sword light erupted forth, piercing the head of the desert nether serpent, and soon after, sword energy emerged from the arc. Thousands of feet of sword energy surged with relentless might, shattering the countless beams of light. The desert nether serpent was reduced to mere dust. The two mightiest beasts perished at the hands of Sumo and Bai Xiaoxiao, causing the morale of the remaining beasts to plummet as they fled into the depths of the desert. Those slower met their demise on the spot. Changsheng observed the growth of his two disciples with great satisfaction, nodding approvingly as he murmured, "If they unleash their full potential, they would likely be unmatched in the dragon transformation realm, and even those in the divine platform realm may not triumph over them." Suddenly, he seemed to recall something. Stroking his chin as he murmured, "It appears I have forgotten to provide them with spirit weapons." Especially upon seeing Bai Xiaoxiao still wielding a sword forged from spiritual energy, he felt a pang of shame. After all, it was his first time as a master, and it was inevitable that he would make some missteps. Well, upon their return from this secret realm, I shall bestow upon them spirit weapons. Changsheng resolved, considering Bai Xiaoxiao's path likely lay in swordsmanship. However, he found Sumo's situation more perplexing. The strength he displayed was solely that of his physical form. Should he provide him with a pair of gauntlets? Never mind. I shall inquire further when the time comes. Changsheng slightly shrugged and whispered, "System, sign in." Congratulations, host, for signing in successfully. Reward, Holy Great Spirit Tool. True Spirit Sword. Congratulations, host, for obtaining a critical hit reward. Reward, Extreme Dao Emperor Weapon, Extreme Dao Sword. In an instant, the True Spirit Sword was replaced by the Extreme Dao Sword. Changsheng was momentarily taken aback. He had not anticipated that this time he would receive a critical hit reward, directly acquiring an Extreme Dao Emperor Weapon. The Extreme Dao Emperor Weapon is the pinnacle of Emperor-grade spirit tools. Above the Holy Realm lies the Emperor Realm. The Emperor Realm is divided into 9 tribulations, with each increase requiring one to endure a tribulation of thunder. After the 9 tribulation Emperor, there exists a 10th tribulation. The 10th tribulation Emperor is revered as the Extreme Dao Emperor. However, reaching this stage is exceedingly arduous, for the terror of the 10th tribulation is far beyond that of the preceding 9. The Extreme Tao Emperor weapon is forged from the 10th Tribulation's thunder. Transforming the Emperor weapon. Success results in an Extreme Tao Emperor weapon, while failure leads to the loss of an Emperor weapon. After regaining his composure, Changsheng promptly opened the system space, where the Extreme Tao sword lay unremarkably. Its body shimmered with a blend of crimson and azure, adorned with a mysterious pattern that emanated strands of Tao rhythm. Even when the Extreme Tao sword rested there, Changsheng could sense an overwhelming aura of oppression, akin to standing before an Extreme Tao Emperor. Thankfully, this was the system space, which suppressed the sword's might, rendering it seemingly ordinary. Once drawn, however, the sanctity of this holy realm would likely shatter under its weight. Without delay, Changsheng dripped his blood onto the Extreme Tao sword, completing the bond of ownership. With an Extreme Tao Emperor weapon, even the Holy Land cannot contend with me. Changsheng could not help but lick his lips. What of the Holy Land's holy great spirit tools? He possessed an Extreme Tao Emperor weapon. It could be said to be the most formidable and terrifying spirit tool in the world today. As he indulged in these thoughts, the battle below reached its conclusion. Their first peril in the desert had been deftly resolved. Phew, that was exhausting. A disciple stretched lazily, speaking in a nonchalant tone. Hearing this, Lin Xiao couldn't help but twitch her lips. You have no change in complexion, steady breath, and yet you claim to be tired? Are you still trying to put on a show before your senior brother? Let us take a moment to rest, Lin Xiao suggested, allowing them the opportunity to recuperate. It must be said, Lin Xiao truly attended to their every need. Suddenly, a tremendous roar reverberated through the air. Everyone, be cautious. Lin Xiao promptly urged them to be vigilant, observing their surroundings. Senior brother, look overhead. Upon hearing the alert, Lin Xiao immediately looked up to see a radiant aurora hanging high in the sky. Within the aurora stood a magnificent and solemn sanctuary, inscribed with the 4 grand characters, Cloud Sky Sanctuary. Even amidst the aurora, the group could sense a hint of pressure. Could that be the final place of inheritance? A disciple exclaimed in astonishment. The Cloud Celestial Sage and the Cloud Celestial Temple, were it not for their status as a place of inheritance, few would likely believe in their existence. Yet, how might we gain entry? Must we traverse the aurora? That poses a dilemma, as I have yet to reach the divine concealment realm. Alas, it remains a mystery who just displayed such formidable prowess at the pinnacle of that realm. As the crowd conversed, the topic meandered once more, shifting from the land of inheritance to a dispute over realms. Lin Xiao, Mu Kuku Suemo, and Bai Xiao Xiao felt a wave of exasperation. Before casting judgment upon others, should they not first reflect upon their own displayed realms? Senior Lin. Suemo suddenly looked up at the aurora and called out. Lin Xiao responded with curiosity, then followed Su Mo's gaze upwards. Instantly, they beheld numerous figures walking through the air, approaching the aurora. As these individuals made contact with the aurora, they were instantly obliterated, reduced to mere dust, scattering with the wind. Observing this scene, Lin Xiao stroked his chin thoughtfully, pondering. It appears that entry into the aurora is not the way. We must seek another method. No sooner had he spoken than the aurora flickered slightly, and then the temple transformed into a radiant orb, drifting forth from the aurora. In the next moment, the temple's light descended, forming a floating island in the void, upon which the Cloud Celestial Temple now rested. Yet this was not the end. The edges of the island shimmered, revealing a staircase of light, cascading downward. Before them manifested an ethereal staircase, leading directly to the island, granting access to the final inheritance site, the Cloud Celestial Temple. However, none from the Qingyun sect moved. They stood silently, observing the island and the staircase, wary of any hidden dangers. Just as Lin Xiao intended to offer a word of caution, he noticed their cautious demeanor and swallowed his advice. Did this group of seasoned veterans truly require his reminders? After a brief moment, they observed figures ascending other staircases, belonging to the likes of the Wuji Sacred Land, the Poyan sect, and the Fengling sect. Only after reaching the island safely did the Qingyun sect members finally make their move. Esteemed colleagues, let us not forget the sect master's earlier admonition. As they approached the staircase, Lin Xiao felt compelled to remind them. Fear not, senior brother, came the responses. We are well versed in such matters. In an instant, all eyes turned towards him, questioning the implication of being well versed. It was as if they were suggesting that the Qingyun sect was a perilous domain. Cough, you misunderstood, one of them said, maintaining an unflappable demeanor. The others diverted their gazes, yet each was acutely aware of their shared experiences. After all, none had been strangers to such trials. Yet, such matters need not be aired publicly. How embarrassing. Before long, the members of the Qingyun sect completed their ascent, reaching the final island. There stood the Cloud Celestial Temple, its doors wide open, seemingly welcoming their arrival. Suddenly, Changsheng uttered a note of confusion, his brow furrowing as if he had sensed something amiss. As he was about to step inside, he felt an inexplicable sense of unease, causing him to squint slightly and scrutinize the entirety of the Cloud Sky Temple. The temple was enveloped in a layer of purple mist, with a shimmering brilliance reminiscent of glazed light, exuding an aura of sanctity and pressure. Strangely, Changsheng mused deeply, furrowing his brow and stroking his chin, pondering why he had felt such an odd sensation moments ago. As a practitioner of the path of survival, he firmly believed that this odd feeling was not without reason. Thus, the Cloud Sky Temple must indeed possess extraordinary qualities. Yet, on the surface, there appeared to be nothing unusual, suggesting that the peculiarity lay within. With this thought in mind, Changsheng hastily entered the Cloud Sky Temple, regardless of any lurking dangers. He possessed the Supreme Emperor's weapon. Should trouble arise, he would ensure they tasted the might of his formidable weapon. Inside the Cloud Sky Temple stood a towering spire, crafted from ancient meteorite iron, emanating an extraordinary aura. Adjacent to this tower was a stone tablet inscribed with 3 characters, Cloud Sky Tower. Clearly, this was the name of the spire. Beneath the stone tablet, a series of smaller characters detailed the origins and descriptions of the Cloud Sky Tower. The Cloud Sky Tower had plummeted from ancient times onto a battlefield within the Xuantian Continent. The Cloud Sky Sage happened to pass by, claiming the tower for himself, and with its aid, ascended to the ranks of the saints. The tower comprised 10 levels, with the 1st to 6th levels granting access to Shen-tier techniques, the 7th to 8th levels offering Earth-tier techniques, the 9th level bestowing Heaven-tier techniques, and the 10th level yielding Spirit-tier techniques. Moreover, levels 7 and above would provide inheritance tokens, ultimately allowing access to the ultimate sacred site of inheritance. In an instant, excitement surged among the crowd, especially among the loose cultivators. These individuals often lacked resources, and the quickest way to acquire them was through secret realms or by engaging in ruthless competition. Heaven-tier techniques were typically reserved for first-rate powers, while Spirit-tier techniques were exclusive to the top-tier forces. Of course, this was merely the surface. The true circumstances were known only to the major sections. Now, the prospect of obtaining Spirit-tier techniques simply by ascending the 10 levels of the Cloud Sky Tower ignited their burning desires. Oh, there are records of those who have ascended the tower. With a gasp, the crowd's attention was drawn back as they hastily turned to a luminous screen not far from the stone tablet. The screen chronicled the names of those who had attempted the Cloud Sky Tower throughout history. Xiao Yun, peak of the Transformation Dragon Realm, reached the 8th level of the Cloud Sky Tower in 3 days. Gu Tianxian, late stage of the Transformation Dragon Realm, reached the 8th level in 9 days. Lin Lin, mid stage of the Transformation Dragon Realm, reached the 7th level in 2 days. Ji Yun, early stage of the Transformation Dragon Realm, reached the 6th level in 3 days. In the early stages of the Transformation Realm, at the 6th level of the Cloud Tower, it took 4 days. From above, there were a total of 10 names, all of which, without exception, belonged to practitioners at the Transformation Realm. Among them, the highest, Xiao Yun, stood at the pinnacle of this realm, yet he faltered at the 8th level of the Cloud Tower, never even touching the 9th. This speaks volumes about the formidable challenges posed by the tower. The crowd fell into silence, their fervent desires doused by a cold splash of reality. Among those present, Li Qingsong from the Wujia Sacred Land held the highest cultivation, being in the late stage of the Transformation Realm. However, whether he could surpass Xiao Yun remained uncertain. Pressure filled their hearts. Senior brother, I shall wander elsewhere for a while, Su Mo murmured softly. Very well, Lin Xiao nodded, having gained a rough understanding of Su Mo's formidable strength. Moreover, with an abundance of talismans at his disposal, there was no need for concern regarding his safety. Instead, it was the individuals who might provoke Su Mo that warranted apprehension. Senior brother, I, too, wish to explore. I will contact you via the communication stone later. Bai Xiaoxiao expressed her intentions. Following the main group of the Qingyun sect offered little opportunity for true experience, as it was far too secure. One could hardly discern the cultivation level of those beside them. In times of crisis, one might be shielded by those standing nearby. Indeed, let us all venture forth. Lin Xiao concurred, then turned to the others behind him, stating, as per tradition, we shall divide into 10 teams, with myself and junior sister Mu leading one each. Soon, the teams dispersed, roaming within the Cloud Sacred Hall. Yet, there were also many who aspired to challenge the tower, eager to demonstrate their prowess. Setting aside the rewards of techniques, even the legacy token alone was sufficient motivation for everyone to attempt the tower. After a brief observation, Li Qingsong opted to explore the secret realms first, hoping to uncover an opportunity to enhance his strength. He was determined to conquer the 9th and even the 10th levels of the Cloud Tower, thereby establishing his reputation as Li Qingsong. the candidate holy son of the Wujia sacred land. After Su Imo separated from the main group, he made his way to a secluded hall, fortuitously coming across an alchemical pavilion. However, he merely glanced at it before turning away. His storage ring contained an abundance of elixirs, more than sufficient to support him until he reached the sacred realm. Moreover, he understood the principle that a medicine carries 3 parts poison. Excessive reliance on elixirs could lead to dependence and the development of resistance, diminishing their efficacy over time and resulting in the accumulation of impurities within the body. Thus, unless absolutely necessary, he refrained from consuming elixirs, except, of course, for those of flawless and perfect quality. Su Imo bypassed the alchemical pavilion and proceeded to a grand hall. After observing for a moment, he murmured softly, "Could this be a repository for ancient texts?" The hall was adorned with numerous shelves, laden with ancient tomes, though they were heavily coated in dust. This indeed piqued Su Imo's curiosity, prompting him to swiftly scan through the ancient texts until his gaze finally settled upon a tome entitled The Path of Yunxiao. Surely, this must chronicle the life of the revered saint of Yunxiao. Without a moment's hesitation, Su Imo retrieved the book and began to peruse its contents. He had heard tales of the saint of Yunxiao, a figure of immense power within the sacred realm. However, his sudden demise remained a mystery, intriguing Su Imo. In fact, the account within this tome captivated him far more than any elixir could. As he turned to the first page, he read, "I am the saint of Yunxiao, born in the vast wilderness of the eastern domain, endowed with innate spiritual talent. I later entered the sacred land of the eastern domain, the purple cloud sacred ground, becoming one of the candidates for the saintess heir. During an excursion, I was ambushed, and in my escape, I encountered a void storm, which inadvertently swept me into an ancient battlefield. Within this battlefield lay countless rusted armors, the ground stained as if with blood. Suddenly, a ray of light fell upon the ancient battlefield, which I was fortunate enough to seize. This artifact is known as the Yunxiao Tower.